of getting you all the way back to Brinchendar, and we actually did the test to see while you all were coming through the gates. Despite some people being a little bit more astonished and excited to see you, they would also kind of hand you all these little tickets that tell you a specific number. And as you all kind of let this sink in, eventually you hear kind of the sounding of a bell atop the town center, and criers throughout the city will start to pass on and start to call out a particular number. Let me see if I can roll a D1000 without rolling one of the numbers you all rolled. Oh, wait, I did roll one. So as you all are passing through the city and kind of going about your day here on the 1st of Tarsak, you'll hear criers calling out um, for the individual. Um, yeah, let's call it that they actually do have like a magical ticket almost. Um, the individual with a ticket 800, and over again, you just hear these criers calling out until eventually you all will notice like an actual like solemn kind of group of people who are walking forward, and you see a small family who are kind of huddled around hugging together, and they are heading towards the town hall. But in general, you all are returned to Bryn Shindar. In the week previous, do we need to step back that you all had something that you wanted to accomplish on the way back here versus the fast forward? Otherwise, we're going to pick up with that kind of scene.
No, I'm good.
Uh,
While we're here, I need to get a hold of some metal to remake my Steel Defender.
Roll a percentage die for me. I think you can go to Black Iron Blades and uh, be able to create your Steel Defender with. Um, I don't think you need especially nice ore. It'll take you a little bit longer to produce. Like, we'll basically have you. What is it? Does it take you an hour normally? Or it's
Yeah,
after a long rest?
I think if I completely have to remake it, I have to do it after a long rest, and it takes an hour.
I gotcha. Let's say that you basically have to like you spend like a day with the guy at Black Iron Blades, effectively taking like a lot of the actual slag and some of like his less useful ore, and more or less turn that into a new mount, or rather a new steel defender. But overall, I didn't actually mean for you to suffer for having to leave the body behind. I should though, because you all should have fought that. Um,
I was fixing to say I'm perfectly fine with having to like spend money to do it. I was fully prepared for that.
yeah, spend 17 gold um, in the process of. Damn, that's a lot of ore. What did you guys get paid for like the 250 iron bars? Were they a gold a piece? No, they were less. It's like 200 gold worth or something on that cart. Yeah, spend 17 gold. I feel like that's pretty legitimate. Um, to like get the remainders. But the guy at Black Iron Blades is perfectly happy to help you do it with a lot of what is effectively his scrap metal as well. You all have a good position. You need like 200 pounds or so of steel, and he charges you 10%. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Cool. Changing the way he looks, by the way. He's a bear now.
as you do.
Do you have an actual picture of it that you want to create a token? I think you have access to actually modify the Steel Defender's character sheet.
Mm,
Yep, you should be able to if you go under allies. If you have a token for the Steel Defender, you can modify it as you'd like.
yeah, cool. Give me just a second. I'll find one.
Does it stay the same size and weight though, out of interest?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. I can change it to look like any creature, four-legged or two-legged.
That's pretty cool.
I think his one option is that he could actually make it his size, but that there is a benefit basically of having it be medium still.
No, I don't actually think I can change the size of it. It's just a medium construct all the way through.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw somewhere where it said small or medium, but that makes sense.
So I guess that's
Um,
kind of smallish for a bear. It was large for a dog.
well, it looked like the picture that they grab is like a Saint Bernard. So it's kind of like the size of like a small bear, but I feel like that's probably like I feel like 250, 300 pounds is probably like a small brown bear or a small black bear.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Because I definitely feel like a black bear will get to like 1,200 pounds, or a black bear, and I think a brown bear gets to like 22, 2,500, almost like a ton.
Oh, hey, Chase, I told some people about your thing with the moose running into the truck and tipping it over. That was pretty wacky.
Moose are fucking terrifying.
My friend said that he'd had a deer run in up into him. He was driving a convertible, and I don't know, the deer was stupid, and so he's like it like put its head basically into the driver's side, just, kind of a saying hi thing, like no, get away from me.
Yeah, my father like has rode his motorcycle up through Alaska a few times, up to the Arctic Circle, and seeing moose is probably one of the most frightening things that he ever brings up about those trips. Even like off like quarter of a mile, like a couple hundred meters away. It's nope, that's too close. Stay away, moose. So, other than a little bit of time spent creating the Steel Defender again, inside the town of Bryn Shindar, it's going to connect the dots for you all that today is the sacrificial day. Um, on some level, you are noticing those who are likely the people or the person who is being sacrificed to Oral this day. Do you all have thoughts on what you are trying to accomplish in Bryn Shindar? Or actually, I did want you to do one other roll for me. Let me get a d12 from all of you, please. Alrighty. This was also part of just kind of this movement between where you start to um oh yeah, I think we held it off at the end of the last session. Um I think we're gonna have you all leveling here. Is everybody
Mm.
prepared to take level 5? Have you all thought about what character class you will go to with the next level?
I haven't thought about it at all,
Yep.
but I know that I'm just going to take another point in rogue, so it doesn't matter. I can do it pretty easily.
Gotcha. Well, with you, Faint, let me get a D8 from you. The Alchemist. Are you going Alchemist again, Zeps? Or not Alchemist, Artificer?
Yeah, I'm staying Artificer all the way through.
Gotcha. I think yours is a D8 as well for your hit dice. And then Kansas, have you thought about what you will do for level 5?
No, but I would say the same druid gnome thing.
Gotcha. Druid as well as a D8. Excellent. Um, in general, part of what I was going for is that as you all are actually like moving through these different levels, your travel inside of 10 towns is going to be a much different experience than when things were much more dangerous, traveling inside of the towns prior to this. This is one of the things that is both a part of your actual power increase, as well as just the fact that on some level your influence makes things a little bit safer, um, because anybody has been traveling between these towns, it already kind of almost increases their area of influence. But across the days of travel returning from the Black Cabin, um, you all will hear a few different stories when you do stop off at the different towns, in different taverns and meeting with different people. Um, Giving you a few of the other kind of happenings that are around so we can kind of have a decision where you all will go forward here. Among them will be the story of Nibira Morskull. She was a fisher from East Haven who at some point was quite renowned for her ability to bring in your favorite thing to ever talk about Kansas, knucklehead trout. At some point, Nibira was attacked and had her fishing pole and her magical fishing hook stolen from her. And the hunters from East Haven have tracked these culprits to a icy rift that is off to, I believe, the northeast of East Haven, on kind of the very outskirts of the spine of the world. And that will give you all the quest for the Cackling Chasm, where a few of the rumors will basically tell you that it is Knowles who assaulted them. Um, and then when you arrive inside of Bryn Chindar, you're actually going to have someone from the tavern kind of passing by, points you out to a woman who's walking with a little bit of a limp to her leg, and she's dressed in generally traditional clothing, but you can see that she's like got a hood down and has like a little bit more of a stern kind of face to herself. Um, Signs that her face is kind of used to getting blasted by the wind, and that like this cold isn't nearly as dangerous to her. But she's going to approach you all at some point, and actually offer you all some money if you would guard her on her way to pick up some goods. She basically needs a retinue who will keep her safe as she has to travel into the sea of grinding ice and pick up some things and bring them back to sell in Bryn Shindar. It's about a 10-day job, and she will offer you all about 50 gold apiece.
Eh, I'm about to go and make bank. How much did that guy say? Like 1,500 gold or some shit for this. So I mean, that was
I
10 days.
re-listened to all of those things. He gave you guys that diamond, and he said perhaps you can get something else. So I don't know what you're expecting, but you got a perhaps.
Oh, I legit thought it was. He said he was going to pay that much, and then also Justin asked if we could have a diamond as well. But yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
That's up
like
to you guys.
Black Cabin, how it happens in the book, you guys already got the reward. It's the blessing of Lathander.
Which is what?
You all can look at it under your features and feats, but it is at the start of every day. You begin with 10 temporary hit points.
Oh, okay.
But those 2 new quests that you have heard the rumors of are now added to your little quest log party notes under the search, explore, and investigate. I guess really that should be under Icewind Dale.
Well, what do you guys think? I mean, we can do it. It's a 10-day trip though. It's for 50 gold. Is that 50 gold each? Was it?
That's correct.
I
I mean,
think
we
50
can.
gold is supposed to be a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for this level. It's not bad, but it's 10 days plus also we're carrying precious cargo that we were pretty keen to get back initially.
Sure.
So that's
It's
one
good to
vote
help
each way.
people.
What are you going for then, Zaps?
Yeah, I'm down. We'll
Right,
spend
2 beats 1. We're helping her.
All right, I also cut and pasted the wrong quest from the one that I actually said. So you guys can have the Dark Duchess as well, which is effectively rumors that there is a crashed ship on the Sea of Moving Ice that is filled with rum that the people of Bremen would are intrigued to purchase. But this pirate woman is actually for the Dark Dutch or Anjou's Bell, which I'm about to add into. But she didn't give you like a time frame that you have to go right now. So if you all have business in Bremen, um, again, these are meant to be like rumors that you are coming across in these travels. And in part because you all are effectively at this point already recognized as heroes in a lot of these towns that you've helped.
All right, so where's the starting point for this woman's assistance thing?
Effectively, she is at the tavern on the western end of Bryn Shindar. Um, I want to say the name, and I don't have my notes pulled up where I'm looking at it, but give me
Well,
one moment.
so well, that's fair though, because we've got to go to Bryn Shindar to hand this thing in anyway, haven't we? So it works.
Oh yeah, she's like waiting for you all at that gate. Like the Northlook Inn is basically the western side of Bryn Shindar. You're getting pointed out to her like as you're walking through the gate kind of thing.
All right, got it. So I just say to her, all right then, get your shit together. We'll leave in the morning.
She's gonna pull out like a little bit of a flask and kind of tap it to your knuckle, take a sip, hand it to you.
All right, I'll have a sip as well. All right, thank you. Well, see you in the morning then. Hope you got some nice cold weather gear.
To safe travels and profitable expeditions.
Both sound good to me.
And then she's gonna take the flask, hand it to Kansas.
I'll take a sip.
Takes the flask, hands it to Zaps.
takes a big swig.
So she's definitely got like a pretty strong rum inside of her little flask there. A nice little warming moment there. And as you all kind of like move along here, she's just going to say, when you're prepared to go, I'll still be here at the North Look. We can set off as early as you are prepared, before the sun if it is acceptable. If you need to, we could leave as late as midday and still be able to make the sea of moving ice by the second day.
It's still dark all the time, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Works for me.
The difference, especially at this point in the actual month, though, Jamie, is that the aurora is the same amount of light as you get in the middle part of a month where you have a full moon, and right now you're at the new moon. So the actual nights right now are very pitch black versus like the daytimes are always just dim light. So what sort of accomplishments do you all have to get done in Bryn Chandar? On some level, if you're going to leave that next day, it will take a little bit more effort from Zaps. I would say it's probably in your interest to just take exhaustion from this night and build your Steel Defender through the night. That way, you're exhausted for your first day's travel, but you'll be back to full strength by that second day.
Yeah, I'll just hop on the Steel Defender and ride his ass all day. Also, we did go ahead and give the wizard the spear, right? Because that's something that's got to get done.
I completely agree. Do you all want to go take the sphere to the wizard?
Yeah, that's why I was saying to that woman we'll leave in the morning because I thought we'd go and get that done.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that.
So you all can head back down to the Tower of Akalos in this kind of southeastern side of Bryn Shindar. Heading up to it, you will again see that his kind of tower is stacked almost upside down, where it gets wider as it goes higher up into the air. This particular tower is very unique in that of all the locations covered in snow and ice, his tower seems to be as if kind of preserved inside of almost a little bit of a heat wave where there's no signs of snow nor ice on his actual building. But you all can enter inside, seeing a clear hoarder's paradise as you're walking through kind of the aisles of his shit. What have you all in mind as you enter the wizard's tower?
Does he have like a servant or something that we can call for him to come down, or can we just shout or whatever for him to come down right away?
Looking around, you can do a perception check.
That's okay.
Zaps, don't pick up anything. It's not for free.
Are you calling me a thief or an idiot? Because either way, I'm about to slap the shit out of you.
I'm just saying, it looks like there's a lot of cool stuff here that you might be attracted by it being shiny.
Yeah,
Well, if I'm the thief, go on.
there's also a very pissed off wizard that'll fuck me up if I try to take any of his things. That was a random spear out in the middle of nowhere. I made a mistake, and I'm still kind of pissed at you for abandoning me.
You were dead. You weren't there. There was nothing left.
You could have at least fucking tried.
Yeah, this guy gave me a nosebleed for like no reason last time, so best behavior.
So, looking around, you don't see anything in particular that seems to be like any sort of like greeting device. There's no like bell on a desk. This is just kind of like stacks and stacks of paper. There's stacks and stacks of like random objects and things. But in general, it just looks like kind of somebody who's collected things from a long time and it's just kind of like thrown about.
I'm gonna cut my hands over my mouth, snout, whatever you want to call it. Hey, Akalos, we need you.
When you yell out into the kind of void is the wrong word for it, but when you yell out into the air, you're just going to see as this little kind of like entry like desk that's kind of like along a far stack of papers and things, a little feather pen kind of like stands up almost balancing on its tip, and you see as the feathers kind of like open into a little bit of a mouth, almost kind of like Pac-Man style, like a mouth in not silhouette, in portrait, and it just kind of will say out to you, "Ah, excellent guests. If you give me a few moments, I will be there presently." And then after a few moments, there's just going to be a little bit of a doop, 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 as you hear these kind of like thumps along the steps coming down a little bit of like a spiral staircase from above. You see just like a small little ball like rolling down these steps until as it comes to the bottom, this guy's just going to kind of like stand out of it, and much larger than the actual object he's like falling down the stairs in. You're going to see that old wizard still kind of hunched over, still kind of like looking up at you, craning his neck from like kind of over his right shoulder. He's almost like looking up with his left eye almost above his right eye. Um, I guess he is not looking up at most of the party. He's looking up at you, Fate. I think he would still be looking down at the other two. But he'll kind of look to you all and, "Oh, done well, excellent. Did you bring everything?"
Did indeed, particularly the objects that was in there that would be of interest to you.
So I think your last note was in response to the note you dropped into the
Diplomat's pouch.
the diplomat's pouch, and it was basically to collect everything. So if you all kind of hand over the notes and the blueprints, and then the object itself, you're going to see as he kind of like flips through the blueprints as if he's like playing with like one of those like little comic book where you like flip through like the story, um, and very quickly kind of like drop the papers onto like a random stack, takes the object, takes a quick look at it, and like throws it over his shoulder, and then he's gonna look to you. "That wasn't it. Um, was that easy?"
No, it wasn't fucking easy at all, and pretty sure that was the only thing that was in there. We combed it completely, and well, one of us died, but we managed to bring him back. But certainly wasn't easy. Don't recommend going in there unless you're ready for it.
"Oh, temporary death. Always enjoyable." And he's gonna look over you all to try to figure out who's the one who's died. And he just has like a sly little smile on his face. Like this is the coolest thing that he can kind of hear about. And he like just wants to like look you over.
I
So either let me get a performance or a deception, whether you're trying to act innocent here or whether you're like basically like pissed off. Zaps, if you are clearly angered as he says this, you can roll yours with advantage for me, please.
What do you want me to roll for pissed off?
That's legit as a performance. I would just want to see like how clear it is on your face.
Fucking very.
Yeah, so as he's kind of like looking around the three of you, he's going to be like, "How was it? Did you have a pleasant time?"
No. I got transported into another plane with a giant talking fucking head, which I can only assume was a dead wizard that tried to activate this fucking spear the first time. And then I had to try to guide my two companions here on how to bring me back. It was a massive clusterfuck.
So as you start to actually say this, he's just going to very quickly reach out his arm, and that quill is going to fly to his hand until not even holding the actual quill, he's going to actually start taking notes on what you're describing with like this utmost interest as you're describing the ethereal plane and like the state of Macredius's head. All of these hours of getting like ridiculed and like told by Macredius that you're little more than like a servant. All of these hours, like this, is what he's interested in, and he's just going to be like very dutifully taking notes as you kind of go over all those things.
It seems we may not have gotten you the item you were necessarily wanting, but you've taken great interest in what actually happened to me, friend.
Well, I may have been mistaken in where I sent you. I was under the impression that that was what Dazan was looking for, and I was perhaps wrong.
Well, you know what that thing does, don't you? It's
I
not.
was able to keep an eye on you, and it was intriguing enough. I'll take a look at it at some point and perhaps be able to do something with it. I'm pretty sure to make the effects powerful enough to stop a god for a prolonged period of time. Um, would take something much, much larger. It would. Uh, we we might have to consume a mountain, a large city. I think it would cost too much.
A certain upside down magical shop.
I think you might find that I'm a little bit more difficult to take care of than that.
Well, maybe you can find a way to make it more efficient. We added an extra ring, and that seemed to do something that gave us the ability to harness its power a bit more effectively. So potentially, there's a way you can find it to run more efficiently. Because I tell you what, I just take my hood down. I mean, like you know who I am, so there's no point in pretending. But yeah, so if there's some way that you could make it more efficient, then it would be more worthwhile. And I don't think consuming a city's worth your time. But if you do, my first choice would be Dugan's Hole because that is a shithole.
Or
he's just
Lonelywood.
gonna he's gonna kind of like look you over, and he's like, "Well, it's not the size of the town, or that it needs it. It's the Chardonnay inside." And he'll just kind of like reach back over his shoulder until the orb kind of like flies into his hand like a little catcher's mitt. And he's just gonna kind of take a moment with his left hand, and you'll see as he starts to pull the stone out from within the rings, and he's just going to kind of hold it up. It's quite inert now. It's used all of its power, and it would seem the magic of Netheril has left it. And he's just going to set it down in front of him. It's little more than a paperweight now. And he'll kind of like float the actual rings just in the air before him as all three of them are rotating in their own little pattern. The rings are certainly still prepared to do such things, but the Chardolin is finished. It's been hundreds, thousands of years that this has been here, lost in the ice. And that actually might be what Dazan was actually looking for. Perhaps part of Netheril lost in the ice. There's a little bit more information to be had. I believe one of their cities has crashed here on the glacier, and maybe you could find part of it for me.
I mean, I don't see why not at this point. Happy to do whatever. But uh, sure, I can't convince you into evaporating Dugan's Hole. You know they sharpen their teeth and they're all inbred, right?
I was under the impression that you actually had gotten married in Dugan's Hole as well. Are you just trying to annul a marriage?
No, I think the term you're looking for is statutory rape. It wasn't great. It wasn't a good experience, and you need to check your sources.
Wait, hold on. I haven't heard this story yet.
And you never will.
You can drop the tough guy voice with me, friend.
I prefer it, and I'm kind of used to it at this point. It's also easy to do than an even higher pitched voice that I normally have naturally. But yeah, if there's a place we could potentially get some more, might be worth our time. I mean, it's pretty useful. Might help the 10 towns out.
Well, from what I understand, there's actually, let's go for, let's change everything. Um, I understand there have been some folk through this area who have found smaller pieces of Chardonnay from time to time. I've heard rumor of a mother in Bremen who's actually has her son has recently found a piece of the Chardonnay. It's often found in the outskirts beyond the towns themselves, but it seems like it has something to do with the mages of Netheril and has perhaps been tainted by other powers through the ages. Um, More Chardonnay might be able to give us a greater power source that we could at least affect the weather for a longer time. Or perhaps if you are able to find a part of the city of Netheril, we could learn much more of their magic. They were far beyond our understandings of the weave.
Now that is an interesting thing, my friend. Where have these rumors pointed you to?
So I actually have to adjust to the map. Did I ever put this on an actual map that you guys can pop up at any time? I will have to do that in the future here. So if you all have all of 10 towns is kind of here, just as kind of a reminder, the Red Glacier is way off to like the north and the east of where 10 towns is. And the spine of the world is kind of coming down from that area and almost again cutting off 10 towns from most of the rest of the Sword Coast. And that kind of gives you, I mean, I can't even really show you with like the size of the map how far Bryn Shindar is from the Red Glacier. But effectively, what he's kind of telling you is there's rumors that an actual city of Netheril had crashed at some point um, on the Red Glacier. Let me get an Arcana check from all of you. Um, I think that'll be good enough. Faint, maybe you haven't actually heard of this, but within moments of having them kind of describe it, you very quickly connect the dots of what's happening here. Because 15 was kind of the DC I had in mind, and 14 seems like a bad thing to just say, hey, you don't get to know this now. But effectively, the Wizards of Netheril, um, they turned all of their fortresses into flying spires of rock, basically. And their cities were all floating cities above the actual Earth. At some point during their reign, they were tapping deeper and deeper into the weave and taking more and more power from it. And casting higher and higher magic spells. And this is 100% a part where I think Faint would know, is just this idea that as these humans were tapping further and deeper into the weave, they eventually separated everyone from the weave. And for years, magic stopped working on Abair. And in that process, all of their cities crashed to the ground, and Netheril basically was wiped off of the face of the earth. So something catastrophic happened at some point where they cut themselves and everybody off from magic. So when he's telling this story, effectively what you all are hearing about is that one of these cities was somewhere either over the Red Glacier or just simply near this area and has crashed here. Part of the information that he has is that it would seem Dazan was looking for a part of this that has perhaps been dragged down with um the like ice flow off of the actual glacier as it kind of slowly kind of like migrates south and west towards the 10 towns. But he's basically going to give you another one of those just vague ideas where it's like you're going into this area of the wild looking for signs of the Netheril. And what that basically comes down to is it's another idea where you're basically going to go on an expedition. You don't know where you're going. So you want to go with the idea that we're going to be out there for an extended period of time, searching for uh, this place and hoping to find it. Um, and I think that's kind of what you'll end up more or less and like having from that kind of quest idea.
Right, okay. So it would be a oh, yeah, right. So just out of interest, is that linked at all to, in I know it's probably not because it's a different world, but in Critical Role, they had all the cities that were like flying and they all crashed. Is there anything to do with that?
Well, here's the thing. Matt created his world, but I don't think Matt has really separated himself from the same mythos of the Forgotten Realms. I think this game works best when you have high magic being in the past because oh man, I think Netherrail was basically like roughly second and third edition when magic was much more powerful. I never played fourth edition, and I don't think it was fourth edition, but I think the spell plague was like a second kind of happening where magic got very much reduced in the world, and I think the spell plague was after fourth edition. But effectively, the actual editions of the game almost creates these marks where it's like the rise of magic, getting to high magic, being cut off from magic, and then kind of rising back up, being cut off from magic, and then fifth edition. So that's why, like, I think the game is designed for you to have very powerful cities. And then one thing, like one of my favorite professors in anthropology always said, there is no original thought. Um, People steal, and it works best when you don't necessarily get the references, but it's also cool little Easter eggs when you do get the references. But in the long run, I think that's kind of where it comes from with Matt. Like, did he steal it? Did he create it? I don't think it matters. It works out really well.
Okay, fair enough then. Guess that makes sense. But it was Human City here, was it?
Yes, and that's part of why I would say Faint would still understand this, is because the human, this is one of those things where all of the side races actually understand this. Part of the problem with this world isn't that humans are especially smart, isn't that the humans are especially good at what they do, it's that there's so fucking many of them that they get into trouble. They get really powerful and they get into trouble. They wipe out races and they do shit like this where they wipe out magic.
I just want it
Um,
stated, no matter what we decide to do, Zaps is like physically drooling over this information. I mean, he can tell the Netherrealm were some of the most advanced magic users ever. There's no way he doesn't have like a huge interest in this.
So with this kind of like positioning of the map, um, I gave you the wrong idea. The Knolls is vaguely southeast of East Haven. Searching for the Netheril is vaguely northeast of like Caer Konig. And then you have the quests out on the Sea of Moving Ice are kind of to the northwest of Bremen. Which other rumors do you have right now? Oh yeah, the crashed I think the crashed comet was kind of south of Goodmead, and and you all have the spine of the world. I think that's almost kind of like off in this direction as well. So by no means do I mean that any given one of these should be combined with another one. But right now, you all kind of have four things drawing you kind of southeast and two things kind of drawing you to the northwest. And as always, there's no right choice here. You all can pick what you would like to do. You can pick what you would like to try to accomplish in groups. But by and large, right now, you all are collecting information as you're walking through 10 towns and you're actually speaking with people who are allies as well as people who are um, almost trying to use you just as much as the next thing, where they're recognizing that you're heroes. Um, so, one thing I think to keep in mind here is that if I paid you all in the diamond beforehand, is there something that you all would care for more than having access to that diamond still? Um, and that's purely from like an actual like out of game sense of that diamond is a really good powerful boon. I don't think druids gain access to revivify. I think druids only gain access to resurrection at higher levels when it's much more expensive diamonds that are needed, but it's still up to you all, like what are you kind of looking for. And in general, it's not necessarily that you have like a choice to like get powerful magic, this or that. At present, it's this guy was good for a diamond, and I understand that it was important to Justin to acquire it as a cleric to be able to resurrect people like at this point. But like, where do you all kind of sit on that idea as people playing these characters, not as the characters?
Yeah, so for me, because we don't need diamond anymore, I wouldn't see the value in getting it. I'd rather just straight gold that we can split and then have that ready to spend on equipment and stuff as it comes up. So don't know what you think, Jamie and Chase.
No opinion.
I'm kind of with you on that one, man, because I really have nothing to spend a diamond on. Actually, I do get access to Revivify, but not until I get my third level spells.
What is it for you? Like that's at level 7 or 8?
Yeah, it's a ways off, man.
Yeah. Um, you cap at 5th level spells, right? Isn't it
Yep,
something for 7th, 5th level?
fifth level.
So there's two different things at play here. Um, that diamond is worth more than I would ever give you an actual coin. Um, and it kind of goes to the same thing that coin here in Icewind Dale is completely different than coin everywhere else in the world. the more people are suffering, the less coin that is actually out there because it's getting condensed into little like industrialists, like inside of Bryn Shindar. There's this man named Melon Usk who is collecting all of the coins, and he probably has about 99% of the actual coins inside of Bryn Shindar. He's actually really good at creating these electrical sleds. You charge them up with the power of wind, and then they actually slide across the top of the ice.
You're stealing my idea.
Melon Usk would never steal somebody else's idea. He's actually an industrialist and is very, very intelligent.
What was his name? Elon what?
Melon Usk?
I like it. Is that a name you gave him?
Oh yeah, 100%. That is my
Yeah,
creation purely for you.
that's very kind. That bastard. You must have overheard what I was talking about one of the other 10 times.
But part of my point is that this is still one of those things that if you all are looking for like immediate spending money, smaller gems might give you more spending power. But gems are almost the best way for you to get both something with immediate spending power and higher potential value versus like getting scrimshaw is probably like the highest value but not necessarily always the quickest spending power. And coin, you'll almost always get the lowest value, but it has immediate spending power.
Right, got it. So my personal approach is that I don't really need to be buying new gear and shit. I think I'm at a point where ideally I need to be looking for, I know it's not going to happen right away, but looking for magical items to start, augmenting my character's loadout with. Because I don't use weapons, I just use the psychic blades. So for me, like increasing the amount of daggers I hold, or getting +1 daggers or whatever, or a +1 bow, doesn't really matter to me because it's more about reliably landing hits to get sneak attack. So for me, it's my priority at this point for purchasing stuff for my character is always just going to be spending cash, which I've got. I'm currently on 54 gold, so I've got spending cash to survive for, like, when you tip someone a gold and shit like that. Um, and so it's more about starting the search for useful magical items for me. That's what I'm interested in. So if it means that we hold on to the diamond because we're all survivable on our current gold levels, and it means that in a month's time or whatever when we hit level 7, so that you've got access to revivify when we've already got a diamond, and that's one thing boxed off. But alternatively, we could have the diamond which could be used to trade for something powerful that one of us could use. It could be a magical item that you use zaps or Kansas or whatever. um, but if you two would prefer to just have the gold, so that, because I mean, Zaps, I think you were saying you were skint, weren't you? So it might mean that you're able to just like RP more and stuff because you've got gold to have access to. So I'd be open to it either way. But for me, gold in general for trading for normal shop, like players' handbooks stuff, isn't really any use to me at this point.
Yeah, he's looking at ninth level before he gets revivify. You all
Oh,
may probably, I think this campaign is generally set looking for 10th level. So it's almost right before the conclusion of this campaign that you all will have access to that.
Yeah, I'm I'm totally with him at this point. I'm talking about you, Mara. If there's a magical item or something that somebody needs that maybe we can negotiate with him for, or maybe like each of us get like a common or magical item or something like that, be way better than a diamond.
There's certainly a certain level of you all could attempt something like that. I don't really have magical vendors necessarily set up here, as this place again is kind of cut off from the world. It doesn't really have people bringing stuff in. So it would be kind of a more of a question of what you all are looking for and pretty low chances that you're ever going to find it.
Just throwing this out here, and Jamie, uh, Josh, y'all let me know. Maybe a bag of holding. Seems like we run into a lot of shit where we could just use something to carry.
Great
I don't
idea.
know if that's I don't know if that's like any kind of close to it. That's up to you, Mara, but just throwing that idea out there.
Well, when you are looking for a bag of holding, do you all want to use your effort to find something that Zaps can make?
You can make one?
He's an artificer. That's one of the most basic infusions. Not infusions. Infusions, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know,
I was actually gonna say, every time I level up, I can replace one of my infusions. I was gonna ask if I could go ahead and replace my thrown weapon with replicate magic item.
yeah, I mean, again, it's part of your character. You 100% can. But again, like the kind of like um irony of Icewind Dale is that there are super powerful magical things around, but not many adventurers, which tends to bring like an increase in magical items. Um, like 10 towns is kind of a void of magic. Around, there's a lot of shit that you might find that is super powerful. But that's kind of like the irony of how it sits because it's cut off from the rest of the world.
So yeah, to me, like I was saying, it's either way works for me. I'm guessing about the validity of getting a dive in for Revivify isn't valid after all because it's a long time before you can actually use Revivify. But it also has spending power, but it's a one-off purchase because obviously you can't break chunks off it to trade. It has to be like a one-to-one trade effectively. Um, but if you guys just want gold in your pockets for now, then we can do it that way instead. Um, but either way is cool with me basically because I've got 54 gold and I don't need gold to buy items because I need to start looking for magical items to augment my character with. So we're talking about bag of holding instead. If that's something you can make, maybe we could get the resources for it, or maybe he's got one. I mean, he's a wizard and he's hoarding stuff. It's logical to think he might have one, but yeah, we can. Whatever you think.
I've put my 2 cents in, man. If you all have any better ideas, that's up to you. And Mara, like he kind of said, it's kind of a like desert out here for magical items, so I don't even know if this guy would have one.
If you want to go ahead and roll and check, let me get a D100 from you, Faint.
Ooh, 88.
You would prefer a bag of holding to the diamond.
Or maybe a bag of holding and a bit of gold so we can have some drinks and food tonight to celebrate the job well done.
You would prefer a bag of holding to the diamond.
I look at Zaps. Well, as long as it's not something you can make, then I think so be of more use to us at this point.
Just
Yes,
kind of look over to Zaps, lifting up like his fake glasses that aren't there. You can make a bag of holding.
I have an ability that allows me to replicate certain magic items.
Surely it doesn't include something like that. It's too powerful for you. You're so small.
I'm gonna look at him and kind of glare. Put that bag on the nearest table and give me an hour.
Nice.
Just out of interest, does the star count as a magical item?
All of the magic has been removed from it in the casting of the spell that has brought your friend back.
Yeah, I agree. But what I'm thinking is, what if you evaporated Dugan's hull to charge it, and then we duplicated it? You could get two charges out of it rather than one, right?
It doesn't actually consume the city. I mean, it needs a city sized piece of the stone.
Well, why don't we consume the city anyway, and then see if it charges it? Because it might be made out of that stone for all we know.
I'm really not in the business of genocides.
All right. Well, if you change your mind, let me know.
If they all disappear, I'll know who did it.
That sells some more their inbreeding.
Okay, so I'm gonna take the next hour and use that infusion to replicate the bag of holding that he had in his hands. When I get
Gotcha.
done, I'm gonna hold it up to him and just start throwing some of the stuff I have in my bag, like rope and rocks and everything in there, just to show him, pretty much give him the bird, show him I can do it.
He does not look impressed.
Okay,
So the diamond it is.
All right, sounds good.
good enough for me.
But we're getting a bag, or you just made a bag, so we don't need it.
Already got one.
Oh, I'm very fond of the bag of fuzzy animals that I got.
I'm going to start claiming a tax for that. Gold every day ever since I gave it to you.
Oh, I could pay rent. I like the bag.
I know. I thought it was better for you. It fit your character way more than mine. So now I'm only joking. You keep it.
It's like the coolest thing. It's the best present ever.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you had one in real life. How crazy that would be! Just producing animals at random until midnight.
Like any
What do
true
you,
magician.
yeah, imagine in a shop. What do you mean you won't accept my receipt? Well, reaches in the bag, pulls out a giant elk. Fuck your shop then. Imagine explaining this to the police.
Yeah, so that diamond is worth 340 gold pieces. One of you can add that to your inventories. And if you have any other questions or any other needs, let me know. Otherwise, what else would you like to accomplish here in Brinchindar?
I
Same.
added the. I was going to say I added the. What was it the tourmaline? I added. I think Kansas. You added something else last week. So Zaps, if you want to add the diamond this time, just keep rotating it. And then what were you going to say, Jamie?
No, I was just gonna say that you should add it, but you're right. That makes sense. Zaps can put it on his.
Yeah, just so we keep rotating it, so that we've all got. We're spreading it out a bit, just so we can remember what each of us have got, rather than one person have to remember a massive list. And I already forgot what it was that you added last week, so it shows that it works.
How much did you say that was worth? 347.
340. Yeah, 340.
I appear to have Scrimshander and a topaz.
Sounds about right. I've got a Scrimshander or Scrimshaw goat. Is it Scrimshaw or Scrimshander?
I feel like the art is Scrimshaw and the object is Scrimshander.
All right, so I don't feel like an idiot by having it called Scrimshaw goat in my bag then.
I mean, even if you did feel like an idiot for having it called that, I'm pretty sure I added it, so it was me who would be the idiot.
Oh no, I think it was me because it's all in lowercase, and I think I was clearly pissed when I did it. Otherwise, I would have used correct capitalization.
Well, again, one of the ironies of being locked in Icewind Dale is like effectively um the knucklehead trouts are a delicacy in the entire world. So like a knucklehead trout here that you would get paid like a copper piece for is worth like 15, 20 gold in like Waterdeep. Um, the scrimshander that they make out of their skulls, it's worth a value here, very low value. But if you take that somewhere else in the world, its value is going to balloon. And that's one of those things that is funny about one, the things that you all have come to hate in this place are almost all the actual things that if you save those things and find a way out of Icewind Dale will just make you stupid wealthy.
What we need is someone to get teleport, and then we can just find a contact in Waterdeep with our dealer, and we just keep sending them knucklehead trout to flip, and then we can get paid for it. In magical items.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jamie will have access to walk through plants at like level 7.
Oh, you go sorted. Then we can start dealing in. Every time we get some, we go for a meal, and someone goes, "Oh, well, I'll get you some knucklehead trout." We go, "Yeah, just raw, please, and a bag of ice." We'll flip it through a tree.
Maybe when we're farther away and it's all in the distant past, it'll be like, oh, look, this is such a delicacy.
I fucking hate fish.
Fish isn't that bad. It's just every day, all day. That's the
They,
problem.
li- they literally made us fish tea. It's out of control.
It's like all the worst flavors of knucklehead trout in hot water. So it's effervescent.
It's just unbelievably bad. I just fucking
The
hate this place.
idea.
It's like the rendered fat, basically.
I should have just gone back to my parents instead of coming to this shithole. Would have been so much easier. I'm trying to make faint the anti-trope. There's all the classic edge lord stereotypes that come with being a rogue, and number one is always they have parent issues, and I am the opposite. I get on really well with mine.
So what are you all thinking here? Where do you want to move forward?
So just to basically just try and get the last little bits of information we can out about where we can find the stone to charge the things. I know that's a future thing we'll look at because we want to do this 10-day quest first, but maybe to say if you can look at researching some leads for us, because we'll be back in about 10 days or back in a 10-day as they call it here, and so just start things with that and say yeah we'll return and we're interested but we've got a job to do, and then to just bed down for the night is just the only things I'm thinking for this before we go meet that woman again tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm down for the original quest we were going on, and pretty much once we're done here, I'm out. Gonna go get some rest.
So the actual information about finding Chardalyn. Like that was the information, is that it's just like wildly lost in the actual snow and ice. It's just a quest, like look for it while you all are traveling kind of thing. There's magic to it, like be aware of that. If you wanted to look deeper into what that means, you can try to seek out the woman in Bremen whose son found some not too long ago.
Right, got it. Okay, so that's all we're going to find out there. If somebody's got the ability to control weather here, sure, it's good for the place and the people, but sure, it'd be pretty crazy profitable. Imagine being able to monopolize the growth of trees and plants.
Achelos understands that the woman whose son found it is the owner of the buried treasure in Bremen.
All right, so let's check out them. Ask a few questions nicely.
Okay. On that note, Zaps is taking off, going to the inn, and going to bed.
You're not going to build your dog?
Yeah, yeah. Do that and then head to the inn.
Yeah, so you're not getting sleep tonight. That was my point. Is if you're building the dog and you guys are leaving tomorrow morning, Zaps is about to be um exhausted and no sleep.
Well, we could just hang out an extra day and let him build the dog in the very dark daytime.
Yeah, so how long does it take to do it? Is it 8 hours is it to build a dog?
Actually, I think it's only an hour.
My point was though is to actually make you expend more to do this. I think it's an hour if you have the corpse of your dog. You guys left the corpse, so he has to prepare the entire dog.
Okay, well, what also is I'll go and find that woman and just explain that we're going to be leaving um, in the evening instead, so we can rest on the road part way into the first day, rather than leaving it in the morning. Um, and just say it's purely because we also need a bit more time to prepare, just for her safety, etc. So, just to keep her in the loop and then let her know the inn we're staying in if she has any questions in the meantime, just so Zaps can get a rest in and also take the full, whatever it is, how many hours, 12 hours or whatever, to build his dog. Sorry, his bear.
Gotcha. So y'all are shooting for leaving at like 5 in the evening the next day?
Yeah, I'd say so. And then we can just get a few. I know it's only going to be a few hours on the road before we'll need to bed down again, but it's still progress, and it means that Zaps isn't exhausted. So
Yeah,
You all
I'm down.
know like one level of exhaustion is not a big deal, right?
No, I'm
is that a
really not.
disadvantage?
I'm really not worried about it. Like, if I need to take the exhaustion, I can do that. I'm gonna be sitting on the bear all day, anyways.
I mean, that
All
doesn't
right.
affect anything. Like the exhaustion is when he goes to make any checks, they're at disadvantage. The problem with exhaustion is when you continue to let yourself get exhausted more and more.
It's your call, mate. If you want me to go and speak to her for you and get some more time, we can. But if you wanna just carry on, get more travel out the first day, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I'm down for more travel. I think we'll be all right.
All right, then I renege my comments about going and speaking to her. Let's just head off. I'll get my meditate in early and then be awake and ready and just listen out for anything and assist you if I can, with your construction. And yeah, and then we'll get ready to head out in the morning.
Helka will meet you all outside of the Northlook. She has a sled of dogs all linked up and prepared to go. And she will kind of look to the party and, with the last moment, has everyone found? Do you require anything else before we set out for this venture?
No, I think we're pretty good to go at this point, right?
I'm ready. I'm ready to get this over with and find a bed. Let's get on the road.
Let's go.
So when you all are prepared to set, let's get some survivals from Kansas and Zap. So heading off on the road, you all have pretty ideal conditions for your travel out of Brinchindar. There is certainly like snow still falling. The wind is still blowing heavy, but as far as things go, you are not getting any crazy blizzard conditions at present. With things moving forward, it will take you about 2.5 hours to make it to Targos. When you all do get to the city, are there any plans to go in, or are you immediately just going to move along and continue to head towards Bremen?
Do we have a reason we need to go in?
We had the tip off about the our next job, didn't we? To go and speak to the woman whose was it son found some.
Something about a buried treasure in.
I mean, I'm okay. We can rest the night there as well, but yeah.
It would definitely still be early in the morning at this point. You guys are
Oh, okay.
2.5 hours into your day.
On the way back then. Let's keep on
Well,
going.
What were you thinking there, Kansas?
if we're passing by and we have a reason to go in to talk to whoever it is, then we might as well do it. I am unclear as to which direction we're going and whether it would be, you know, what makes more
Right.
sense that way. But we're here, so we might as well go talk to the person.
What person are you all looking for?
The woman in the inn with the son who found the resource beginning with S that powers the Morning Star.
So,
Some stuff.
two questions there. Did anybody write down the name of the inn?
I said buried treasure in, but I didn't know the town.
Did anybody write down the town?
It's in
Yeah, Bremen.
Breen.
Zaps knows.
Yep, me too. It's Bremen.
And where are you guys at right now? Targos.
Oh, I thought you
You
said
have
it
a
was
reason to
Bremen.
go into Targos.
Oh,
Oh,
all
sorry.
right.
I thought you said into Bremen.
No, haul ass. Keep going.
Yeah, in that case, keep going.
All right, so you all can continue on through the day. You're going to be about another 2 or so hours, kind of starting into the middle of the day when you will get to this river is not the Socian Star, the Shinogern River, heading south out of Mer Dualden. You have the option of passing to the north of Bremen and kind of crossing like east and then north around, or kind of going a little bit to the south where it kind of continues back over. No, I'm saying that wrong. The further down the river you are, like the further west and south, the more it actually breaks up as the water is kind of sped up and the ice kind of gets thicker. But you all have the choice to kind of decide how would you like to wade over the ice to get to Bremen.
I would think try to find the spot where the ice is like thickest and safest to cross.
Yeah, potentially closer to the shoreline, but does it look? Is it covered in snow, the ice, or is it visible? And can you see that it's solid, or what?
Roll a perception.
15.
Looking around the ice, you can tell that you have thicker ice heading out into the actual lake, as the shores are kind of where the ice starts to grow from. And you can actually see signs of how the ice is basically um, like being cut away from the water beneath it. The further out into the water you go, obviously, the more dangerous a fall into the water is, but it also means it's easier to spot the weak points in the ice itself.
I'll vote shoreline then.
Yeah, I'm with Faint. Shoreline.
Yeah,
What does
How about we
shoreline mean?
tie
I don't know what that means.
not deeper into the lake around the edges? But also just suggest we tie a rope round all of our waist so if somebody goes in, the others can go flat and help pull them out.
that's a good idea.
Gotcha. So let's get a group set of. Let's go for survivals here.
Ooh,
Interesting.
So one after another, as you all are starting to progress across the ice and making your way to the opposite side, there's plenty of signs that you all are on some of the most dangerous ice in this area. Sticking close to the shore, you all are getting like constant like cracks and echoes through the ice with each step that you're making. Nobody feels completely unsure about their footing, and as you do make your way across, everybody will make it across safely. You're going to see as the group kind of does pass by, um, Helka is going to stay much deeper towards the actual lake, keeping that end length of the rope kind of furthest away from where the water would drag you all. And she passes by with the least amount of actual like cracks to the ice, and she is with all of the dogs and the actual laden sled. But as you all cross over, you will be along the northeastern side of Bremen. And as Zaps knows, this is where the woman is supposed to be. And as Kansas knows, you all are looking for the buried treasure in. Looking over this town, this is one of the smaller towns that you've seen. They still have a few docks. They have plenty of ships that are actually frozen in with the ice itself. But you can see some of their smallest little rowboats are actually set like next to the docks, but like on top of the ice. They have a few large barracks that seem to be like a tiny little, almost like a like fishing village kind of setup. Eventually, walking into the town, you can see that they appear to have a little town square set up with pubs. Where, as you look around the pubs, you will see you'll see the symbol of these pubs in little signs that are kind of carven animals, and different things. One of them to the kind of southwest is like five little circular objects kind of stacked on top of each other. So it looks kind of like a little like stone kind of stack. The next one to the west of that ends up having the keel kind of front of a boat hanging above its door. The one kind of central to all of them has a like the delta of a river. To the east of that, you have one that has a big moose face, kind of looking down at the people who enter into the tavern. So it's like antlers to the right and antlers to the left, so you're looking like straight at the face. And then the farthest to the north and to the east looks like a bearded human on these signs. But walking through, there's certainly a good bit of sound coming from that location of the town. But you all can kind of pass through. You'll see the town hall is pretty easily spotted, as there's kind of a constant flow of guards throughout the day. And then, with talking to pretty much anybody, if you were asking for the buried treasure, you would find that it is the first stop coming in from the south, which means it is the southernmost building in Bremen.
Well, here's town number 10, but it might be a bit obvious to you. I don't really know how to count, but I thought we'd been to all 10 by now. But hey, here we go. We did it.
About what time is it? Sorry, it's evening, isn't it? I know it's hard to tell with you
Uh,
all.
y'all are still early in the day. You've probably been marching for between 4 and 5 hours at this point.
Okay, so I'm not going to look for a place to rest then. Fair. Should we go and speak to this person in the inn?
Well, if you inquire with Helka, she will basically tell you at this point, we could easily push on and make more time towards the Sea of Moving Ice, or this is also the last stop that we have prior to leaving civilization behind. And that is where the greatest decision lies. Do we stop to sleep in the wilds, in the tundra, or do we stop to sleep here?
I say we take
Well,
our last opportunity for a warm bed where we can.
All right, it's fine with me. I'm just going to say, though, based on the progress that we made, if we leave now, are we going to have a safer place to stay for the night than if we leave in the morning and end up getting deeper into the journey, or does it not matter?
I don't think there's anything between here and wherever we're looking. So we might as well get a good night's sleep and leave in the morning.
I get that, but my point is, does it mean that it'll be nightfall when we leave if we leave now, meaning we have to camp out in the open field, or if we get a full day's travel into it, does it mean we can camp out somewhere with more wind cover or something, you know?
The element while we travel will be the largest decider on how many nights we end up spending in the tundra versus how many we are sheltered.
All right, fair enough. Let's stay here tonight then.
So, even more reasons to find the buried treasure. As you all are actually asking around looking for directions to the inn, calling for it by name, anybody who would respond to you would be sure to kind of reference to you that you're looking for Cora, and Cora Mulfoon would be her name. She now takes care of the inn all on her own. Her son has left this town many weeks ago. He and then kind of go silent.
So I guess
What
he
is it?
won't respond to us then if he's not here.
Yeah, but she might know, man. Seriously, what is it with this place and being ominous? It's just one ominous comment after another.
Well, it is 10 towns.
Everyone is in 10 towns for a reason.
Let's at least go speak to the mother, see if she can give us any information. I assume we're going to head over to that tavern.
Yeah, sounds good.
So you all can walk through the rest of the town on your way to the tavern. Getting down to this location, you all will see a larger house, kind of sitting around mid to larger than most of the other homes in this area. It is 2 stories. Primarily, this one has a hearth at kind of each end, the northeastern as well as the southwestern side of the actual house. When you all arrive, you will see smoke only rising from the northeastern of these locations. Approaching the home, it seems pretty kind of standard for what you've experienced. These are not homes built with actual windows to them. Most of these are all constructed well after um, the true cold kind of set into a lot of this land. Very few of them that you've come across in Icewind Dale actually have any sense of like summer kind of in mind for them. They are built for winter. When you do enter into the actual home, you are going to see a long room that kind of extends from that northeast southwest, and there's a hearth at each end. On the northeastern side, you're going to see kind of an open kitchen. There's a young woman who's probably like mid 30s, maybe young 40s, who is kind of like just working at her own kind of pace, just kind of like maybe whistling to herself. Doesn't really notice at first until the blast of cold air kind of comes in and it'll snap her attention. But as you all approach, you're going to see that this room is primarily just 2 long tables in the center, each of them with one end that's at least a little bit closer to the hearth. But you can see that the southern side of the room, there's nothing happening in the hearth, and there's just kind of like a couple of curtains drawn across these 2 areas to do a little bit to maintain the heat from the actual like northwestern side. But you can see that those are all kind of like almost just blankets and curtains like thrown up. It's not like designed to have them, but they're functioning to cut it off. And it's one of those signs like this is an inn built for a lot of people to be here, and there's nobody here. But as the kind of rush of cold air flies through the kitchen, Cora's going to kind of turn to look at you all and hello, welcome, and she's going to catch like the 2 short folk as she like turns and looks almost straight to faint, and then as the other ones kind of move in, and then she sees the bear and hi, I don't have any money, so please don't hurt me.
Well, you might have some by the time we're done talking. We're here to enjoy your fine and don't mind
Yes,
it.
hello, welcome, welcome. And she's going to quickly like change her demeanor as her right arm is just like now like pulling you inside. She's just like, please come in, come in, shut the door behind you, keep the ice out, please, please, come in, come in, come in.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And what a lovely tavern you have.
She kind of like smiles a little bit. Are you all hungry? Are you prepared for are you nice soup? What would you like some? I have potatoes and knucklehead soup right now. Would you any coffee? Would you like some tea ale? What can I get for you?
I
Oh,
would.
I was going to say potatoes. That sounds lovely, but rather than knucklehead trout, why don't we have something a little bit different? And I pull out 5 pounds of owlbear meat and go, why don't we share some owlbear meat together? And what were you going to say, Zap?
You are so kind. Is this really fresh owlbear?
Well, it's a couple of days old, but it's been frozen, tundra and all that. So defrost it and it'll be good to go.
What have you
And
got
you're
for
well
us,
more
Steph?
than welcome. I was going to say she's welcome to share.
I was going to say, if you have coffee, I would love some with a heavy splash of some kind of alcohol in it.
I only have a little bit of the remaining ale from Goodmead. Um, but if you would like, I could splash that into your coffee.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you.
She's got like a little bit of a tear in her eye as she's taking the owl bear from Faint. And what were you saying, Cher? I have no one here. I am very sorry. But the six of us, we can I do math? The five of us, we can certainly enjoy this together.
Of course we can. That's what I meant by share. You're more than welcome to partake in it with us.
Are you counting the bear?
No, he's counting the chick we've been dog sledding with all day.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yep, you all have Helka with you.
Thank you, Helga. Sorry, drew a blank.
So as she kind of brings you all in, sits you on the long table, like closest to the actual like kitchen itself, you're effectively like say 5 or 10 feet from the actual hearth. As the four of you kind of sit down and around this area, and looking around, this is a very open room. And very much filled with a lot of different kind of like knickknacks and things. There's certainly a lot of scrimshaw that's kind of hanging with a lot of like beautiful pictures carved into them. Some of them carved to look like actual animals, kind of like the goat was. But predominantly, this is like one of those places where every bit of the vertical space, like along the walls, is in use for something. And a lot of it is still signs where there were better times. I really like the idea that this place in particular is the inn from the Hateful Eight. I think that's the right movie. Where it's like it like has like evidence of it was like she had like six different kinds of like sugar candies, and now there's maybe like two or three like single jelly beans kind of left inside of like those six large jars along the wall. um when she like goes to bring coffee to Zaps, I'm sorry, Zaps, this is definitely like a mint tea, kind of prepared from like evergreen, and it has a very distinct knucklehead trout flavor to it. And there's like a little bit of the blend of the actual ale within it, but in the long run, you can see as she's kind of like smiling to you, like, um, make an insight check actually for me. Just with a few sips, you're like not sure. Is she trying to tell me this is coffee, or is she trying to tell herself this is coffee?
I I'm sure Zaps can tell this lady's on hard times. I'm just gonna sit there and drink it and smile like it's the best thing I've had in a while.
She gets like a nice little smile across her face, continues back, and would you all enjoy steaks? Should I do steaks and stew? Would you like stew? Is one meal better than two? Would you like to stay? I have rooms upstairs.
Yeah, I'd be happy to stay for the night. I think we all would, and it's up to you how you want to prepare it, but I'd suggest probably dicing it and then serving it as part of a stew, but completely your call.
Does that sound good for everyone?
Yes, please.
Sounds wonderful.
So she'll let's go for she'll take another pot off, just like a much larger one than like the cast iron that's like sitting over the hearth right now, kind of heating up the knucklehead trout. And she's just going to bring that down to the table and sit south of all of you, essentially with her face towards the door. So depending on like the position of the group, she's next to whoever is kind of already furthest away from the hearth, on that southern side of the building. And she's just going to start setting down like a cutting board, her knife, and basically bring everything over to kind of like actually sit down and relax with you all as she starts to prepare this. But over the next hour or two, she will get the stew on and actually cooking, where you all will eat at some point in the future here. But in the immediate presence, do you all have any questions for Cora Malfoon of the Buried Treasure Inn?
Well, I was just gonna just to help butter her up and build some loyalty because that's what I've been going for. By the way, that's what my play is. I've been trying to get her on side and as befriended as quickly as possible. Um, it's just while she's preparing, I'm just going to be telling her about all of the things that we've done so far whilst in the 10 towns to build up our sort of, dependability and the fact that we're helping people. So I'll tell her just chatting everything except for the summer star. I'll keep that under my belt.
Roll an insight for me.
Okay.
Um, After a few of your stories, it's going to give you at least enough information that she's heard of what you all have done on at least some of these stories that you've talked about. And you can feel story after story that her attitude is actually getting worse towards you, as it feels like you're a braggart. But on some level, you're aware of this and can recognize, like, all right, I've told enough of these stories. Like, we can continue on.
Well, anyway, enough about me. So yourself then, how is it you've come to be in such a fine tavern as this? Oh, and by the way, my name's Fane.
Yeah, like in the long run, she'll kind of introduce herself to all of you as well to kind of continue that on. Um, if I have been the proprietor of this inn for most of my life. My parents built this home many years ago, and with their passing, it became mine. And well, we were much smaller than the space that I needed, and I have, for a time, done well keeping it open as a hostel and inn.
Oh, well, very nice then. I mean, how was it well, how did the name come about? Buried Treasures is quite unusual for the name of an inn.
Oh, well, for quite some time, there were many adventurers coming up from Luskin, and this was one of the quickest routes in. Pirates and sailing folk have a propensity to stop where they see treasure, and it was a good way to guarantee that I had the first taste of their business before most of them head directly to Targos.
Well, that sounds very interesting. Must have met some very interesting people in your time. So is it just you who's here now, or is there anyone else you have helping you run this place?
It is only me. My son has left some time ago.
Oh, really? Why? How old was he?
How old?
Yeah, how old?
He was an adult. It was perhaps time for him to go. Maybe I should not be so surprised. It's a painful moment when, well, it was, he had to go.
Well, if there's any consolation of what I've seen in this town is this place is lovely. I'm sure once he's broadened his horizon, uh, seen a few different places, he'll be happy to come back home again and be here again and enjoy your lovely cooking.
Why, thank you. That is a very kind thing for you to say. I appreciate it very much.
I don't want to pry and ask what the circumstances were behind him leaving, but I'm sure that he still cares for you very much, and I wouldn't worry too much.
Do you think that is a persuasion? What are you trying to do there?
I'm just trying to make it seem like, I mean, without going too far into it, what I do for a living with negotiation and stuff, it's a big tactic to act like you're not interested in that, but to bring it up in conversation so that it's in the back of their mind. And then to just, yeah, sort of have that thread so that it's up to her if she wants to like check herself and feel as though, oh, actually, I am feeling comfortable to share. But if not, it means it's at least implanted in her mind as a topic that she's thinking about.
Let me get a wisdom check from you.
Okay, so and if anybody else wants to jump in at any point, by the way, just go for it. I'm just chatting, so it'll be a long and slow process before Fate manages to do anything intelligent in conversation.
You do a great job.
Remember when we got chased out of that town twice, the same town?
It's always better when a group participates than throwing one person at it. Faint only thinks like Faint. Faint, Zaps, and Kansas are a team. Teamwork makes the dream work. God, I fucking hate Bonefish.
Problem is, Zaps is real fucking direct. He'd just ask her straight out about the damn mineral.
So are you asking her about the mineral?
No, I'm gonna just kind of lean back and watch Paint do his thing. See, I don't want to get us kicked out of this damn place being direct.
One place is not the other. At present, this is the conversation.
Yeah, okay, I'll butt in. Miss Cora, we've traveled from Brinchindar and are currently on our way to the Sea of Moving Ice on a mission. But we heard an interesting rumor in the towns. Something about a mineral your son had found. Do you remember anything about this?
You are heroes of the 10 towns, and you have heard of my son and me, and you have come here for us?
Not necessarily for you, ma'am. The mineral that your son has found.
Oh,
Well,
wrong answer. She's just gonna shut the fuck up real quick there.
I was gonna try and interject, but yeah. Um, hey, listen, actually, there's a bit of a bigger picture going on, and I want to make sure you're safe. I don't want you to put you in danger. So there's certain things I do and don't want to share with you, but there's actually a very big part that you could play in being
She's gonna
as the
step up from the table, and she's just going to take a piece of charcoal out of the hearth and kind of just like come back over to the table, and she scratches out this just little black kind of like oblong rectangle. It was a stone. It felt cold like ice, almost metallic in how it touched your flesh. He found it in the tundra, and then he left here within the week. And she's going to slam down the charcoal onto the table, and she's just going to walk back into the kitchen and not speak to you all.
Did did she finish the meal?
No, that was like mid meal. She's probably most of the way through, but there's still like stuff in her actual plate or her actual bowl at that point.
I'll tip it back into the pot and put the pot high above the hearth so that it stay warm, so that she can have it later, and then I'll just sit back down again.
Well, I think I might
Well,
have fucked that one up.
no, it's okay. I've done worse. Don't worry about it. But I mean,
we've always got time to let her know that she's a nice person and she can always be very helpful, and she already has been. And I say that loudly, but yeah, it's one of them things where you have to bear in mind this is a tough time for her. Her son's left home, and this object's something which is part of the reason why he's left. And then we show up and we're asking questions about it, and you know, she's a needs to know she's a friend, and she can be helpful, and not only helpful, but she can be part of this and play a big part to, you know, what we know will save the whole of 10 towns and release Auror's grip on us all. And I make sure that's loud, but not to the point where I'm shouting, but just making it so that if she's nearby, she can still hear.
Fate, let me get a history check from you.
Okay, what's that? Zero.
All right. Well, then, Josh, do you remember any place that you have gone where you have heard about a black stone that's cold like ice and
I do.
shapes like metal?
I do. The first place we went to, the Care, was it Kernavig, where they had all the knights that were um, wearing the pendants made out of them.
Do you remember any of the names of the people that you met there?
Oh, yeah. Once let me get my notes up.
Jamie, do you remember any of their names?
No.
Raw, Canric, Kranich, Kadroth, and Heffel. Oh, and Levistus was the person who claims all the towns are servants of his with the Knights of the Black Sword, and Asmodeus seems to be the cause of something dark here, something about him releasing a dragon, Shardalin, a black metallic ice dragon.
As you are kind of recalling these different little details about where you've heard of these stones and this black ice before, um, you will also recall that at some point in her conversation, she would have named her son as well. And you would know that you've met her son. Her son was on guard duty at the front of the post. He was Hor Mulfoon, and he was a part of the Black Knights, or the Black Swords.
Oh, I see. If I realise that, can I stand up? And what was her name again? Sorry.
Cora.
Cora. I've just connected some dots, and I know where your son is. We've met him. I'm sorry, but the information you've just given us, I've realised. It's okay if you don't want to talk to us anymore, but where we saw him, where we met him, it was Caer Dinival. He's safe and well, but he seems to have joined a group there.
His friends came here for him, and we had a fight when I told him they were not friends. But he would hear none of it. That stone changed him. When you find what you came here for, be weary of touching it with your hands. It will not go well for any of you who keep it close.
Learned that lesson the
Yeah.
hard way recently. Don't touch anything without checking it out first.
So
Wait,
just for
wait.
just for your benefit, Chase. So it was session one. Caer Dinival was the town that we got off the boat at, and when we were there, we went straight into the castle at Caer Dinival, and there was these weird like pious guards everywhere, and so Heffel was a or Hefel was some kind of like higher up person who was ill in the castle. We went to go and visit him because he was a fan of Justin's character's book that he wrote, and he had a sword shaped amulet around so her neck, and she randomly just died and then turned into a block of ice immediately. And from what we were piecing together, it sounds like something to do with this resource is linked to somebody called Levistus, who is presumably the big bad or at least on par with oral, and it's a case of what we think is happening is that material is being used so that when people die, they turn into some kind of servant of theirs to some capacity, but we didn't piece together much more than that. So just for your background from a session before you joined us.
All right. Sounds like maybe after we get done with what we're working on right now, we might need to check that out a little more.
Yeah, so what we came to the conclusion of almost immediately was this was some high level of shit, and let's just put a pin in this and come back later. So maybe now that we're entering like chapter 2 of Icewind Dale, it's becoming a plot thread that we need to pursue again now. But yeah, we were level 1 characters. It was not it was not within our capacity to be pursuing. But so that's just what's happened. So just so you know, so
Do you
I
know?
mean,
Do you remember what the fortune teller told you all? And this is same for Jamie as well.
let me check my notes. What town was the fortune teller in? Sorry.
That was Hethel.
Oh, okay. Then I don't
She
have it in my
basically
notes. Then.
told you all she had foreseen you coming, and that would be the day that she died, and that she was excited for you to come. She gave you the fortune, she told you that information, and then turned into the block of ice.
And that was me thinking I was taking good notes for once.
Yay, okay, I
Well,
finally found what I have. I have Black Sword Cult wears black ice pendants. Stuff happens. Yep.
excellent. Well, you do get that all of these people, they were wearing the same pendants. They're all essentially like this black ice that's turned into the shape of a sword. When you look at the actual drawing that Cora drew onto the table, you could see how that would be very easily shaped into a sword.
Cora, yeah, I agree. These people we met, although they were very polite and welcoming to us, there was certainly something sinister behind the scenes, something that maybe your son's not quite in the safest of hands, and maybe there's something we can do to help. Have you heard of Levistus before, or maybe Asmodeus?
Helka is going to look to you all. You are speaking about the Lord of Hell. Asmodeus is the demon who rules all of those lands, and Levistus betrayed him. He is frozen into a block of ice. He will never move again for all of eternity.
Mm. And I just flip open my notebook, and if anybody catches a glimpse at it, none of its words, it's all crudely drawn images like a toddler with a crayon. Yeah, according to my notes. Asmodeus does seem to be the cause of something dark here, something which is threatening the whole of the 10 towns. It's something to do with him releasing a dragon called Shardolin, a black metallic ice dragon, to destroy the 10 towns. But I mean, this might be a bit much information for everyone within earshot here, but apparently he's building a weapon using the heart of a red dragon, and he's got a fortress in the spine of the world. But, make of that what you will. We didn't make much of it, we just got out of there.
So, Chardlin, does that bring up anything to mind?
Yep, that's what I've written in my notes. That's the name I said before. That was the name of the dragon I've got in my notes.
But when you say it again now, anybody? Make an intelligence check, group.
30.
That's. And then Kansas.
It sounds familiar. I don't know. That's definitely a name we've heard somewhere else recently, and it's annoying me. I can't
Faint.
fucking remember.
Akalos just told you all that the stone that powered the summer star is Chardolin. The
Oh,
stone
shit.
that is coming from and likely a product of the destruction of the Netheril is Chardolin. You all, when you are looking for these black rocks in the wilderness, you are looking for Chardolin.
So is it? So that black stone Okay, got it. So there's a player now putting pieces together, and I guess you can say faint as well, but he's an idiot. The black stone that
Well,
we're
that's what
finding.
this chapter is, though, is it's supposed to, when you all encounter Caer Dineval, you're not supposed to understand, you're not supposed to get 90% of that information. But that is, again, part of why it's random that Justin's character rolled that thing and you all got free access to the Black Swords. They welcome him as family in that situation. And you get a shitload of Easter eggs that would be spoilers if the dots were even remotely close. But this is where you all are starting to not only connect a lot of dots, but actually in recognition that you also have a lot more of the story than most anybody would ever get to at this point. So this is meant to be kind of those moments where shit's like boo, 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 and your mind is just going crazy with connecting these dots.
Yeah, the Michael Bay "wop" sounds as we all look
Yes,
into
that
the
is
mid.
exactly it.
Got
Because
it.
effectively, you now know that Huar went missing at some point, came back with this glass, this like black stone. His mom knows that he changed in some way holding it, and you all now recognize that you've met him before, and he was effectively one of, like, you guys knew that was a cult. It was very clear that they were all very, very culty. And he's just like sold. He's a part of it now. You all know that that stone is what vaporized Zaps within the Summer Star. Like all of these different things are coming together. That the stone is related to the Netheril. The stones save power. Levistus uses the stone for like his actual cult. Is the stone powered by Levistus? Is the stone powered by the Netheril? And like all of those things are kind of connecting the dots around these things. I still think you all might have more information about the dragon, but you do understand that there is a threat of somebody creating a Chardalyn dragon. With what you understand now about Chardalyn, you should certainly definitely take that as a great threat.
Hey, just side note. The fucking town shit. I need to Is there a way to pull up the big map again?
Yeah.
Fucking Targos. Targos. They have like not 100% sure if it's baby dragons or fucking drakes or what, but they have a bunch of those little fuckers, or they did.
Yeah, what color?
Oh, shit, there were several different colors. I think there was
Well,
blue, black, maybe red.
what I was going to say as well, though, is that we know that lots of things are coming down away from the mountain. So if there's potentially something there that's scarier than all of these monsters, and they're fleeing away from it, that could be part of it. We just know that there's things fleeing it, and we don't know why yet. So they could be fleeing the mountain Kelvin's cairn because there's something big going on, which could be um, linked to the whole Shardland thing.
So yeah, guys, you know what I'm thinking, right? I'm thinking those black swords that we met, those stones that they wear, that they've shaped into the form of swords they wear as pendants. That's the material we need to power the thing, and it's called Chardalyn. That black metallic dragon's called Chardalyn. It must be something that it either produces or is a side effect of the dragon, or maybe part of its scales or something. That dragon is here, it's real, and it must be somewhere nearby, probably up Kelvin's cairn.
Well, I'm glad that when we touched it, it didn't do something really awful to us.
Well, we touched it very quickly. Didn't we have some beads made out of it for some reason?
The beads that you all got in Caer Koenig are more scrimshaw.
Ah, okay, got it.
which again, like those beads are basically what Icewind Dale uses as coin, because they're like a small enough denomination that those are effectively like, um, like 5 gold coins basically. They might go for like between 3 and 7 gold, depending on how much somebody needs them at any given time, kind of thing.
Right, got it. Sounds so. So yeah, we did touch it, but very, very, very briefly. Not long at all. Not long enough to have any effects that I think seems to come from holding it for a while, where it corrupts you. It's got to be something to do with Asmodeus if he's controlling this dragon.
Well, from what Helka was saying, it seems like maybe Asmodeus's betrayer is trying to work his way back into power again with this dragon.
Yeah, makes sense. But what's that got to do with Oral? I know Oral's claimed this domain, and she's releasing eternal night to keep people there miserable for her own benefit. But how does that link to Asmodeus? What's his game here? And Helka, you're
At,
saying he's trapped.
at very least, Faint, I think you would be able to remember, despite your rolls, that Levistus was who the Black Knights, damn it, the Black Swords served. um, Levistus was the one giving Helka the information to tell you all that whoever was creating that dragon is the threat.
Okay, got it. So was he opposing him or opposing the threat?
Well, effectively, Levistus was using, I can't even remember Justin's character at that time, as a point of influence. He was trying to warn your group at that point that the threat is producing a dragon that, like, you can basically understand now, like a lord of hell was trying to give you all some information, hoping that you could defeat this dragon. How that's going to help a lord of hell, hard for you to tell, but you would feel used regardless. But at the same time, if there is a threat that is producing a dragon to attack 10 towns, like that's still one of those things. Like, if you care about anybody in 10 towns, you still have to do it, even if it also ends up helping a lord of hell in the long run.
Right, got it. Do we still have that diplomat's pouch to speak to what's his face, the wizard?
Yeah, for what it's worth, you guys can still have the diplomat patch.
All right, I'm gonna write something saying confidential, can't say much. Care Denival, the Black Swords, that material we need, all linked. What can you find out? And I'll put it in the satchel. Don't
And
expect an answer.
how often are you going to check for a response?
I'd say at first I'd check every like 5 minutes, but then I gave it so it's the first sort of like, let's say first hour, it's like every 5 minutes, and then after that I'll drop to every hour, and then obviously I'll stop when we go to bed, and I won't check it again until the morning.
So, about 15 minutes in, you are going to get a response that will say, the material that we need. Have you found the hunter? Who is the one killing it? What material is he at? Cardinival? I will head to Cardinival.
I'll reply quickly saying, "Don't go to Care Dinival. Shardalin the dragon. What do you know?" And then again, I guess 5 minutes to keep checking every five. And then to after an hour, every hour until bedtime. So do it that way. Like when you send a
Uh,
risky text to a girl that's out of your league, and you first you keep checking your phone, and then you slowly taper off with enthusiasm.
well, I think at this point you have a pretty solid understanding that they are um, kind of checking at least like semi regularly here, because it'll be about another 5 minutes before you get another response where, don't go. The murderer is there. They are not there. There's a dragon in Cardinival. Chardalyn, I have heard of this stone. What does it have to do with the dragon?
I'm going to write on the note, destroy this after you read it. And then below it, I'm going to write explaining what we know about Caer Dineval, the black swords, the stone, and Chardalyn the dragon, and how it links to the material. And say, don't go there again until we know more.
Pause real quick. Who the hell are you talking to?
It's
Not the
the
wizard.
oh shit.
Should have made sure that was the case before you started spilling your beans, bud.
Oh well, I thought it was. It was last time we sent it to him, he responded.
I'm pretty sure he gave um essentially like a piece of paper that he would intercept or a particular thing that he was going to intercept, but that bag is connected to somebody else.
In future, when I'm this late in the game, just assume that I'm drunk and that I shouldn't be allowed to make critical decisions.
I mean,
Nah,
it
but
was still an ally of yours. It was still somebody you all met early enough along, but it was an ally who was trying to hunt whoever it was who was killing people in the 10 towns.
Yeah, I remember. I remember who it was. Yeah, it was the person from what's his face, the guy who was also a child of Oral, who was related to Justin's character, who was also given that gift, etc. And you were looking for. Yeah, I remember, but it's not, obviously not who I intended it to go to.
too late now. Also, you being drunk eliminates half the fun, man. We got to keep that
Yeah.
up.
You're still more creative than I am, so hey, and you remember it, so good.
Well, that's alcohol for you. I will admit, normally the last 15% of a session I don't tend to remember too clearly, but that's part of the reason why I take notes to try and remember. But yeah, maybe okay then. So just as players, we should try and style this out in a way because it is an ally, yes, but they were not allied to anyone who's now in our party. But still, if we are going to, because they were basically working for Oral, so therefore Oral is going to oppose what's he called? Fuck, what was he called? Asmodeus, and also Chardalyn, because they're a competing power for this area. So they would therefore have an interest in stopping this from happening. So they could still be somebody we could use for this. So I think that we could send another note maybe and say we'll meet soon to explain, friend, or something. What do you reckon? Or maybe another note saying could be related to the hunter we're looking for. Because it's true. It could be because I know that they were saying they were killing. I mean, he himself was killing false believers of Oral, ones that seemed to be claiming themselves to be children of Oral, but they weren't. They were just, doing what they were doing for their own thing, the false prophets of Oral. But if there is this whole thing happening and there is a bigger picture going on, and what they're looking for is, they're looking for this hunter thing, is it could all be linked. So it is a potential lead that we want to tell them about.
While you all are plotting and planning here, you're going to get a response from the last message. I don't have to go to Caer Dineval, but I can go there and remain in secret. I have been a spy for much of my life, as you know. I can remain secretive, but if they are a danger, I should be close. I am in Bremen now, and I will be able to make my way there within 3 days, maybe 4. If you need to meet before then, please tell me. If I go there, you will be able to find me and I want to say that one is the east side, but I think I'm coming up with the wrong tavern. The uphill climb. She'll say, I will remain in the uphill climb, trying to keep a weary eye from then on.
What do we reckon then? Group decision. Do we tell them that we're also in Bremen and that we can meet and talk here? But obviously, it would need to be away from Cora. and also our Helka.
I mean,
Jamie, yourself, Jamie?
Okay, I'm confused by the whole thing as usual.
What's confusing you, Jamie?
Who are we communicating with?
I don't think Kansas has any reason to know. But at some point, Ezekiel met a woman in, I think, Caer Koenig when you all returned from the Duragar outpost. And she was kind of sitting in a corner, kind of like interjecting herself into your conversations, and eventually asked him to search after this murderer. Um, I'm not sure how much information that he gave you all, but at least probably her first name, that she's Lynn. She was a spy slash information gatherer for the Lord's Alliance. But she was a young woman who had one of her ears cut off. She in particular is here in Ten Towns because she was spying also on the wrong people. And she listened a little bit too much to conversations she should not be listening to.
Yeah. So what I think what he said was after we had the interaction where he had the whole ice spike in the hands incidents with the can't remember what his name is now, but the guy who was part of the caravan. I mean, I think he
Suffolk
said that he did.
Couchrow.
That was it. Yeah. He said that he shared with us everything. So yeah. So I think Jamie, it's safe to say you know about Lynn. Um, so we do have things to share with her if we want to about what Ezekiel's link was, which was with him and the children of Oral being hunted by him, etc., as part of his whilst he was tagging along with the caravan. But I think what we were originally thinking was to not share that straight away, which is why we didn't. So
Roll a
we do
wisdom
already.
for me, Faint.
Okay.
Or even a perception.
Well, I'm better at perception.
What's your perception bonus? Is
Plus
it
4.
double? Plus 4?
Plus
Gotcha.
4.
So you would notice pretty quickly that she's not talking about the murderer. Like after you brought up that somebody's basically um, for what she knows, raising slash enticing a dragon into this area. After you brought up the dragon, she's not looking for the murderer on that level. That's side information now. From the description that you all would have gotten from Ezekiel, you would know that this is a good person who's a spy. Um, this is effectively somebody who would give her life in a moment to save the life of another person, if not two. When you think about 10 towns and the destruction beneath the dragon's wrath, she would give her life in a second for 10 towns. Um, but that is effectively where you kind of understand, in her letters, in her responses to you, it's already gone out the window to question you all about the murderer. The murderer is killing 1-2 people a month. That's nothing to her once you bring up the dragon.
I vote
Okay,
bring
got
her
it.
in.
Yeah, me too. But I think the context in which we bring her in is what we next need to decide. Is it do we bring her into the tavern as is? Do we bring her into the tavern and ask for Helka and Cora to be somewhere else, or do we let them stay here and we go and meet Lynn somewhere more covert, like just on the outskirts in the darkness or something?
Well, Helga's kind of been here the whole time we're talking about this. I'm pretty sure she's got some kind of idea what the fuck's going on.
She does, but this person we're meeting is a spy who's been covert, and I don't want to rumble her cover unless there's we think they're completely on the level.
Yeah, I vote go and meet her, but it seems like this mineral chandel fuck, I can't pronounce it. Either way, that's way more of a threat to the immediate vicinity than what we're doing currently with Helka. We might need to drop that and move on.
I think we can maintain this quest, but I think
Shardlin,
what we
thank you.
need to do. Sorry, Shardlin, yeah. But I think what it is completely different to yeah. I had it spelled as one word, Shard Alin, all one word. Like yeah, like the
Well,
second spelling.
technically, I did the real spelling as the top one, but just breaking it into those three parts gives you a pretty close pronunciation. But I think it's pronounced Shar. But my bad, that was just a side thing because Chase said it like that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, my absolute vote would be to do this away from here, but not to abandon the quest because I think that we still can get this done. We can maybe ask Lynn, the spy, to go and find some stuff out, and we can still communicate with the diplomat's pouch. Um, you know, or maybe if we do that, we can bring her into the tavern so she can meet Cora, and so that she can ask a few more questions of what her son's encountered, etc., etc. But we need to speak to her. We need to tell her about what happened with Heffel and the turning into a block of ice. Basically everything we know, we can just say blah blah blah. We tell her. But I think
Let
that
me
it should be
let me
some.
get a group insight check here.
Okay. Oh,
Crushing it.
And I'm still rolling with disadvantage because of the fucking exhaustion.
So I think overall, you all have a pretty solid impression that while Helka's like listening and helpful, she could kind of care less about most of what you're talking about. She's very much the type of person who she's not going to harm people. She's not going to help people. If she can profit, she'll profit. If helping people is profitable, she'll help people. If harming people is profitable, she might harm people for it. But in the long run, like at present, she seems to be a pretty neutral party who is far more concerned about her well being and about the almighty coin.
oh, can you hear me?
I mean, I'm pretty sure we can talk her into keeping her mouth shut. And plus, if she ends up helping us with the Charlatan situation, it'll probably help her all throughout 10 towns.
Yeah, like she didn't hide information from you, she was freely sharing it to you.
Sorry, my headset cut out for a second. Who are you talking about here now? You're talking about Hiker or Lynn?
That's Helka. Yeah, this is just like your overall impression of her across the time you all have spent together. Is she's not necessarily a threat to people. She's certainly not a threat to you all. And in general, her concerns are far more about coin. But at present, part of like why she's getting this oil is this is like the heat source for much of 10 towns. So this run that you all are going on some level, she's going to profit from the coin. But it's also one of those things that people are going to stay alive because she is a person who's risking her life to gain coin.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but it's a profiteering exercise as well as helping people. Okay. So my vote is still to exclude her and maybe to leave her here safe with like the guardian and pull an animal out the bag and just say we just going to go and check the perimeter. We'll be back before bedtime, and then um, but before we do that, I'll send the note to Lynn and say meet us to the just outside the southwest gate of Bremen. Out of the range of the lights, and we're in Bremen too. We'll head there now, if you're okay with that.
Once you send that, are you checking the diplomat's pouch again?
Yes, I basically want to just keep you.
Within a minute, you're going to get a response. I am at the bearded brother. I can be there in a matter of minutes. Are you at the buried treasures?
I'll respond quickly. Yes, but we have two people engaged in conversation with us. Hard to shake for a confidential conversation. Don't want to break your cover. And then I'll
There'll be
religiously check.
another message in there. Who else is there? Cora? She should be safe enough. If we meet just beyond the town, along the coast, there should be very few fisher folk remaining, and we can at least seem like a group coming off of the ice.
I'll respond, okay. Or if you prefer, I have the ability to have a secret psychic conversation if you'd rather have it in the tavern. And I'll say, give us a response, and I'll meet you in either of the two places as soon as I receive your response.
The bearded brother at present is rather empty. If you would come here, it is still just myself and the bartender.
All right, okay, coming, and just shove it in. And I'll stand up and say, right, well, I have a bit of a business to attend to, and I'll nod to the other two, saying, so if you'd like to keep your defender here and maybe pull the animal out of that bag to help protect as well, just to make sure that Cora and Helka feel safe. And we'll be back before it's time for bed. Just have a few things we need to check to make sure this town's secure before we set down for the night. And I head towards the door and say, you two go in.
I'll go along.
I'll stay here with Helka and keep an eye on the tavern.
I'm going to use Psychic Whispers to connect with Zaps. Just roll. It's a D8 now because I'm level 5. Ooh. 5.
And I don't think there's any reason that you wouldn't connect to Kansas at that point, too, right?
Yeah, good point, actually. Yeah, good point. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I may as well whilst I'm casting it, yeah. So just mark it off.
Well, that's your free one. I don't think you
Yes,
have.
but
Oh,
I
I
still
got
have.
you. You're marking off that you're using the free.
Yes, that's right. I still mark off the free one just so I don't forget. Yeah.
So I think when you head over to the taverns, again, you already kind of like walk through that little like central area called Five Taverns Center. You'll see again the sign of one that looks like an actual human with a big beard. Rather clearly, that is the bearded brother. You can head on into the tavern. The main entrance of that kind of overlooks a long, like northern set of three tables, with a hearth along each kind of like long wall. But you can kind of enter right beside the hearth. You see these tables as well as a bar that is off on the west side, about 2/3 of the way down. And as you all enter, you'll see as a hooded figure kind of just almost like flashes a hand across like that kind of back wall, still like close to the actual bar, but it's still probably like about 20 or 30 feet away from it. And you can kind of see that in the farthest back corner is where Lynn is currently seated. Um, Faint would at very least recognize like her general attire. You would recognize that this is a pretty similar spot where she sat when you all would have seen her at the Northern Lights, where Ezekiel first met her. That she was sat in a corner where her seat looked over the door and as much of the actual property as possible. So she has vantage over anybody who might come up as well as anybody who might walk close to her. Um, but just with a quick little kind of flourish of her hand, she'll kind of send a signal to you all that this is where I am. Faint, you would recognize it as Thieves' Cant of just saying, it's still safe. Um, and you would see as the actual barkeep is kind of just behind the bar along that wall, the northwestern wall. And he kind of like looks up to you all and is like, The place is empty. You're welcome to sit where you'd like, and ales for both of you.
I'll walk towards the bar with Kansas and say, "Well, why don't we go about ordering a drink?" And then I'll glance towards Lynn and I'll burn another psychic whispers to link with her. I'll just roll it. So 6 hours for what it's worth. And I'll say to her psychically, "Do you want us to join you, or would you prefer we sit somewhere else and talk to you across? It's up to you. Depends on how much you want to be seen with us at this point."
I am a regular patron here. The barkeep doesn't pay too much attention to me. I neither tip him too much nor too little. You will be safe to join me, or if this is effective, we can certainly speak like this. That way we don't have to have two conversations, one secretly, and one to avoid the awkwardness of sitting together. Which you can also take as a clue that if you and Kansas are sitting together, you all might want to like have like small talk out loud while also having internal conversations.
Yeah, that's right. I can't remember who it was with, but I think last session or maybe the session before, that's what I was trying to do, and it was a bit confusing to maintain RPing an
Well,
open
that's also
conversation.
one of those things where it's easy to say, I am narratively going to say, meaningless drivel to Kansas while I have this conversation, and then role play the actual conversation that you're trying to accomplish something. Because that's one of the weird things about mental stuff. With a lot of mental stats, if you guys say the right things, I'm not going to require a role because you're saying good things and you're being creative, and that can accomplish a lot of things. Like I have keywords that if you all say something, like saying the right word is often like, bam, that's like a DC 15 roll right there, or that's like a DC 22. That's one of the things where role playing conversations can be better than just narratively saying, I'd like to try to be persuasive. And if I just call for a roll, it's like, all right, we'll interpret how that roll comes out. Um, but that's kind of like one of those things. You can narrate, Jamie and I are going to have a conversation about nothingness with the bartender, and then we can actually role play the internal conversation.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say it'd be easier if we sat somewhere else, but somewhere we can see each other. And I'll say psychically to Jamie, "We're going to take a seat on the other side of the hall, but where we can see her. We're gonna sit there. We're gonna drink. You and I are gonna sit and drink quietly, but we can speak with her, all right?" And then I'm just gonna go on.
So you've got a few different places where you can at least be close to the hearth, which will make sense in an empty place to kind of sit, as far as just kind of like passive insight of how to remain like unnoticeable. Um, you don't have to like sit next to um, Lynn to be closest to basically the barkeep as well as her table and that hearth. But I would say in one of those three central long tables, you should sit to the one that is actually, like, oddly enough, closest to Lynn, but you don't have to sit with her. And that way, like, again, Kansas and Faint can be looking at each other having a conversation. And maybe Kansas is looking towards the bartender and Faint is looking towards Lynn.
Okay, let's go for that one then.
So while this is going on, I am curious if Zaps has any thoughts on what you are doing with Helka, as you are back at the buried treasure.
Not a whole lot.
Gotcha. So if you don't have anything planned, one of the things she is going to speak to you about is it has become a little bit more apparent how successful you have been. Perhaps you all are wealthy enough that you would have reason to join me in this venture And perhaps while I will pay you your fee for the job that we have planned, if you all would invest as well and increase your investment, and we can bring back more oil, we could all profit from that. Do you think you could convince your friends to invest? Do you have money to invest?
Well, how much money are you considering?
Every penny we can give and purchase in oil, we can make sizable profit from. But we have to buy barrels, and they are expensive. Many months' work for a normal person, their lives can easily go for the cost of a barrel. But in turn, I am wealthy enough to pay 3 of you the price of 10, 15 years of work. What do you have to invest?
As it sit right now, myself, I have a small amount of gold, but for the right, well, I could speak to my friends about investing and see how much we could come up with together. But I'm sure Faint and Kansas both would need some kind of a guarantee of a return.
If we get back alive and we sell the oil, that is a return.
Well, this is true. As it sits right now, I could maybe put in 20 gold pieces towards just on my own.
Unless we can bargain for a much better price, which will be rare in how things go. I do not believe that will buy us a barrel yet, but perhaps your friends have more to invest, and it brings us closer to an increased profitability. But if you would like to talk with them, perhaps you can convince them that this is my bad. This is a venture worth risking your money on. And it is simply that once we are on the Sea of Moving Ice, we can get back to Bryn Shindar safely. And if we can manage all of that, we all can become quite a bit richer. But anything beyond my initial investment will be our shared profit.
While she's talking to me, I don't know what Faint's doing, but I'm just going to kind of use the psychic whisper he's got me hooked up with and tell him what's going on.
I'll just say, yeah, we've just made contact with Lynn. We're not sitting with her, we're sitting within sight but nearby. We're going to speak to her psychically as well. We'll keep you updated. As for the investment thing, it's on you. I've got 50 gold. But I see it as the party's money. So if you want to contribute that, we can. Just make sure we understand the full risk of this journey, because I don't want to be lugging around a barrel and having to fight carrying a barrel of oil.
I agree. I will discuss, and either way, I will not risk over 50% of our total gold.
You want to ask Kansas how much she's got?
Yes, I think it would be a good opportunity if she has a guaranteed way to sell these barrels. We could be looking at a very profitable outcome.
But to bear in mind as well, what she's saying is that she wants to split it 4 ways. So anything that's outside of what she's initially invested, anything we invest goes 4 ways, not 3. So, but if it makes money, it makes money. But we've got the risk and the 4-way split on the 3-way investment to remember. But hey, Kansas, how much money you got?
I got like 50.
Yeah, she's about the same as me.
Well, we'll discuss it in the morning whenever we get back on the road. Good
Yeah,
luck.
we've got plenty of time. Thanks, I'll keep you posted.
So, what thoughts do you have with Lynn?
just once we sit down, just I don't want to play out the whole thing. So just purely, I'll sit down. I just want to be like, I want to explain everything that we know about what happened in Caer Dineval, the Black Swords, what happened with the Heffel and all the names and things we encountered. Even tell her about the son that we know is there, Cora's son, and the effects of what we seem to have pieced together of what it is that interacting with this material, which we believe it could potentially be part of or a byproduct of Shardal the dragon. Levistus, everything, Asmodeus, all of that, just basically everything. I should say they believe it could be a big threat. They think there's something bigger going on here. I'm not sure how that fits into oral, but potentially there's some kind of pending civil god war coming.
There have been reports of Duragar in many of the cities of 10 towns to the east. I believe I met you all after you battled Duragar to the north of Caer Konig. I have seen signs of them in East Haven. In Dineval, you speak of these people who worship Levistus. I worry if you have someone constructing a creature out of this material, that it would be the Duragar who are those who are collecting for their creation. I will have to go to Dineval and watch closely here, but I fear that your knights in Caer Dineval are perhaps not the problem that is the great threat, but with enough proof, I may be able to increase the presence of at least some of the Lord's Alliance. But there is perhaps little that I can do to help with a threat so great as a dragon. If we could prevent it from happening in the first place, we would save the most lives.
I agree. That sounds good to me. Maybe Shardalin isn't the name of the dragon itself, but the name he's giving to a dragon he's going to construct out of that material. I can't decide what the Black Knights are saying, but as it currently stands, they seem to have been hospitable to us when we went there, but they may not show you the same grace. We seem to have a fast track to their favours, so I'd be careful, but perhaps they themselves aren't looking to ally themselves with this threat, but to maybe prevent it in their own way. And perhaps their interaction with these objects is something which they haven't quite yet understood the full consequence of.
If they serve Levistus, and Levistus fears Asmodeus, it may be whoever is constructing this creature of the Shardalin is the one who is serving Asmodeus. But Asmodeus is a great trickster. He might be known to another god of the underworld. But Duragar do not serve Asmodeus. They are far too proud to serve him. Little of this makes sense.
I'm inclined to agree. But hey, listen, not sure if this will help you stay safe or not, but this psychic whispers that I can do, and I can also do something with psychic blades. It was a book that I came across in Waterdeep. I think I've learned all that somebody as academic as I can learn from it. I'm going to leave it for you on this seat when we go. Perhaps it can help you with your covert operations if you can learn something from it too. But hey, the most important thing is you stay safe. We keep in contact with this pouch, and as I take a drink from my tankard or whatever it is, I'm going to pat the side of my cloak to indicate that's where the diplomat's pouch is.
If you intend to pass me this book, you can place it within the pouch, and it will come to me, unless it is too large.
Oh, I didn't know I could do that. And I'm just going to glance over, make sure the bar to wait until he turns around if he's cleaning a glass or whatever. And then it is quite a large tome, or at least I imagine it is. I know it's not a real object, so I imagine it is quite big at least. But I'll
Isn't
just
that
try.
just a creation of yours from your backstory?
Yes, that's all it is. Yep. So it's
Are
not
you
actually a real.
intending to stop with the rogue at this point?
No, it's just that I thought the idea of it was that I read it and was just that was the initial thing was the rather than becoming like a full blown mage, it was that I picked up the subclass of soul knife, whatever it is, and that was all it was. It was. I just didn't want to, I thought it'd be an interesting plot thing to let her, and then it gave you the option if you wanted to, was to do something
Here's
with
the
it. But
thing, at this point, if you give up this book, you are cut off from doing any more levels in that class.
all right, well, I definitely won't give it up then.
Yeah, I would say it's far more that every single time you read that book, you're discovering more hidden knowledge within it than that you are like completing it. Until, I mean, if you do that, that's an awesome sacrifice. That's great role play, but that's definitely where we're going to also turn that into you're cutting yourself off from the source of your power. And that's where you would almost like be forced to like start multi-classing into fighter or something else that would add to it. But you would be cutting yourself off from at least your rogue archetype.
But yeah, I thought it would be good role play to give her character something and for it to be cool. But I'm not looking to multi-class. I don't have the cognitive capacity or the planning to multi-class. So I'm just looking to stay rogue. So for simplicity's sake, then I won't give it up. Then if that means that I can't do any more levels of rogue.
Yeah, I just think it makes more sense to say, especially cut off without like an actual master. That kind of is like for all three of you, there's a certain level of where Kansas needs time in nature to learn and become a better druid. Faint is studying his book to learn and become a better rogue. And then Zaps is, actually tinkering and creating new things to become a better artificer.
Okay, sure. Well, I'll redact that then and just go back to whatever it was we were saying before about staying safe when she goes to Caird and Evol and to stay in contact.
If you need help there, you let us know. We might still have some favour with them, and we might be able to get access once again if it would help. But I'm not too sure how likely that would be at this point. But if you
I
need
think with
us,
the actual conversation that doesn't necessarily need role played, you all would recognize that without, again, I'm like so clueless and I haven't actually brought up my notes of Justin's first character. Without that like fanboy status, I think it's probably pretty clear to you all that you're not going to get back in that castle. Um, you have to effectively assault or sneak into that castle if you all want to return to see what is up with the Black Swords. That it was never Faint who got in there, it was always that author who they were just fawning over, and everybody else was just allowed in under his grace, kind of thing.
Okay, got it, understood. I'll still say though to use the diplomat's pouch if she ever needs anything and we can help. And I'll just say explain that we're off on a trip to go and get some oil. So it's about a 10-day trip. So that's where we'll be in the meantime. And then we intend to return to Bryn Shandar. So to just let her know that that's what our intentions are. But after that, we have no current plans other than to pursue this lead. So to stay in contact.
So I think that's a perfectly good time for you all to actually get the understanding from Lynn at this point that Bremen, the bartender, damn, I got a name for him. The bartender, Lyric, from the bearded brother actually has heard of a pirate ship that has crashed in the Sea of Grinding Ice, that has a bunch of rum on board. And she'll kind of bring up to you, well, if you're heading off to the Sea of Grinding Ice, if you can look for the Dark Duchess, you might find profitability in that as well, in bringing back the rum. Um, and that's the quest that I accidentally added before, but I just didn't take off. So
Okay.
gives you that extra quest from her, because normally you would get it here in Bremen. Um, but I think
Okay.
overall that's actually where we're going to end things here, unless there's still conversations like that you all have. But otherwise, I want to take these next 15 minutes to actually talk about it out of character.
No, I'm fine with that. The only thing I was just going to say dead quick was that I ping everything over to Zap so he knows what's going on. And then I'm just going to say as well as the group, and also at some point I'll be going to check in with the town speaker, since we've done that every town so far, and this is the last town, and we haven't done that. So we can do it on the
I
way
will
back. But
fucking go on over to the town speaker.
oh, well, that's leading. What is it with this ominous campaign? Why is everything so ominous all the time?
Yeah, you can't skip over this town speaker.
Right. I say psychically to the others then. Right. Business is done. Let's go to the town speaker. Da-la-la-la.
Right, we'll go visit the town speaker. Very important. We're
So
celebrities.
as they're kind of like catching you up on this zaps, you're eventually going to hear like a few minutes of just what I'm going to initially like throw at you as dead silence, because the two of these people are about to be severely shocked by what they meet. As you all head on over to the town hall, which is kind of like just to the southwest of the Five Tavern Center, the east side of the hall is effectively like a jail. So if you head into like the initial doors that you would see there, there's just going to be two guards who are sitting at desks and like cages basically behind them. With nobody in particular actually in jail, but the guards kind of like look at you strangely for a moment, look down at Kansas, and kind of like, oh, what can we help you with?
Go on, Kansas, you go.
Tell them that you're looking for the speaker.
Hi, we're looking for the speaker.
Oh, excellent. Well, if you head around to the south, you're going to be able to find Speaker Shaliskar off in the main entrance hall. So you all can walk around, and you now understand that Bremen has a jail along that east side of the town hall. When you enter into the main town hall, you are going to see a large open room with a big central hearth that kind of runs almost in like a 40-foot long fire pit, where the actual like wooden floors are set down about a foot below the floors that kind of flank around underneath all of the pillars that hold up the roof. So it's almost like three different tiers of like the floor that you're like entering on, a step down into the floor that's around the hearth itself, and then a step down to where like the hearth itself kind of sits in the center of this room. But the hearth runs the entire length of this hall. At the end of the hall, you're going to see another few steps up to the same level that you entered on, and then like an actual kind of like uh king's kind of style of seating on the opposite side, where you see just this old man kind of hunched over, big long beard, not really sitting with good posture in the least bit. And from the moment you walk in, he's staring at you, and you can kind of see his black beaded eyes already kind of looked off across the way, making eye contact with you all. He's probably like 60 feet away from you, though, as you enter.
Just so you both remember as well, we'll cyclically whispered if you want to say anything, but I think Kansas, you got this one.
That is never a good idea.
Talking
Well,
about throwing somebody in front of a bus.
and well, I chatted to a spy, Zap's chatted to our contacts in the other place, so I think you got this. I mean, I also fucked up a previous conversation, and so did Zap. So if you do, then we're 3 for 3. We've all had a go.
Send in the socially awkward druid for the win.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think like charisma's my worst, and just as a person, I kind of suck at figuring shit out. But okay.
Well, I'm here if you need. If you struggle, let me know. But you got this. Trust me, it'll be fine.
Send it.
What am I supposed to be doing?
Talk to the town speaker.
Yeah, you talk to the bloody town speaker.
Okay, I'll go talk to the town speaker.
You're already there. He's staring at you.
3 seconds. I've forgotten the name of the person.
You literally stood in front of the town speaker, and
You
like,
have the
so what
attention
now?
of a goldfish.
Pretty much. I'm Dory.
Hi, I'm Dory. The guards told you the speaker's name was Speaker Shaliskar.
Hi, speaker. Hmm. Yeah, this is exactly how things are going.
How far away do you walk up? Like, how close to him from like 60 feet at the entrance of the hall to like crossing this hearth that's like 45 feet? How close do you get to him before you say that?
Uh, 3 feet away.
So you like walk up like these like full long 57 feet where your little legs are like waddling this whole way across this hearth, just in awkward silence. And this man is just doesn't move, just kind of staring at you that entire time until you say, "Hi, speaker." And you're just going to see in like a little start as his body kind of like jolts to. And he's still like in a bad posture, but he's still kind of like draped forward looking at you. And he's like, "Hello? Who's there? Where are you? Hello?"
Hello?
Are you in my head? Mom, is that you? Can I have some tea?
Uh, I'll wave.
He's still staring directly at you, but he is not reacting to you moving. Where are you? Are you? And he's just going to reach out with his hand and as he reaches out, he's just gonna like reach for where he heard your voice last, and he's actually going to poke you in the eye with his finger, where you will take 1 bludgeoning damage.
Okay.
Oh, you're not mother-in-law. Who are you? Who are you? Where are you? And he's gonna poke you in the face again. Oh yes, okay. There you
Would
are.
I have backed up? I mean, I think I would back up when somebody pokes me in the eye.
You have to tell him that. It's your
You have
character.
to tell me that.
Well, I'm gonna fucking back
As he reaches for you the second time, he's just gonna come up short to. Oh, you can teleport, I see. Well, let the games begin. And he doesn't move.
This guy's nuttier than my ex-girlfriend.
up. Why is this person in charge?
And so lies the quandary of all of 10 towns. And this is why this one you couldn't pass up. Once Josh said we should go see him to complete the pack, he's definitely my favorite because this guy is batshit insane. You guys can basically hang out here for what time it takes you to do this, but you're going to get nothing out of this guy. He is completely insane. You can tell that he's probably on the 80s to 90s side of being a human. He probably shouldn't be alive now. He definitely doesn't have a whole lot left to him. And you have a pretty solid sense that this is one of the odd things of how power isn't always given to those who deserve it. But
So,
again, there's nothing like big to pick. My bad. What are you thinking, Zaps?
I was fixing to say, so you're talking just like full blown dementia, slinging shit at the walls.
Yeah, 100%. He is definitely like his mind is gone. If I recall offhand, like I'm pretty sure he's one of the people who, when you connect enough of the dots together, he's actually somebody who at some point disappeared and was found in the tundra. Actually, I think he disappears on a regular basis, where he basically leaves town and people don't recognize it first. But this is somebody who has basically found enough Chardolin in his life that his mind has been just completely fried by the magic of that stone.
Oh, so he's like an object lesson on why Charlene is bad.
Explains what happened to Dugan's hole. There must be so much Shardle in there. We have to go back.
Nope, they're just inbred. But yeah, Bremen is definitely like the example of, it's like, this is why this stone is dangerous. They give it to you with Shaliskar as well as Huar, where Shaliskar is somebody who interact with it a little bit, a lot of times, and it's just like as if you've burnt out his brain. So there's almost like just like massive missing connections in his neurological system. So there's just a lot of things where he's just off. And then whereas like War, you all met him like the first time completely functional, but definitely a cultist. But his mother would be that person who shares. He disappeared, came back a week later, and that stone was something he wouldn't ever like part from. And their fight was basically at some point, she could share, their fight was effectively where she tried to take it away and like throw it into the river, and he basically like ran away from home at that point. um but again, that's kind of like the real thing. Like, you don't necessarily have to role play anything else with the town hall, but I do want to actually go over, like, bookkeeping wise, kind of what the group has in plans, because again, this, like, the black cabin was a part of like the first little like tidbit of coming into the second half of the campaign, but this is definitely like full on, like a lot of those old quests, things have changed and they will not be nearly the same, but these are the new quests that are kind of developing from them, and that's where like your information is gaining a better sight over all of Icewind Dale, and it matters a little bit more. But among what I want to talk about is I want to get a sense, at least for you all to keep in mind and think about, how much you want to invest gold wise, realistically, value wise, how many barrels of oil you would like to try to purchase when you go on this venture with Hilka. Because again, this is meant to be a chance for you all to risk a lot and perhaps profit a lot. Um, and then it also is to clarify where you all think you will go for the future. It's probably going to be the actual like venture into um, the Sea of Moving Ice to get the oil is probably most of the next session. If you decide that you want to try to get the rum to further profit and sell to the people of Bremen, that might be able to fit in, but it's probably more that we might be able to end next session there. And then you guys can kind of move to the other side, at least with a thought that you've accomplished some of this stuff on the like northwestern side. But where are you all sitting on kind of like the quests ahead of you? And again, it's inside of the party notes in your handouts that you can kind of see the actual like information that you might have at this point.
And well, how much is it for a barrel of oil for a start? Because I mean, obviously, we can't invest less than 1 barrel, and then we need to invest exactly the amount that you'd equate to barrels without any remainder. You know what I mean?
I'd say the biggest thing there is how much are you all looking to invest. If you follow through with like how Zap said it there, where I don't think we should invest more than half of what we have. But in the long run, when you all get there, you're going to get a chance to negotiate. And it's going to come down to realistically, one roll is about to determine how much you all have a chance to purchase oil for. But it is effectively like 20 to 30 gold or so a barrel. Um, but realistically, I think the book says something like Hilka has like 500 gold. Um, or maybe like she's going to buy enough barrels that she makes 500 gold. So she'll buy 10 barrels and be able to pay you all um, from the 500 and she'll walk away with 450. So maybe she has like 250. It's hard to really tell because realistically, none of the actual math matters in the least bit. If you all decide to invest everything that you have, you can turn all of your gems, all of your scrimshaw, and all of your gold into barrels on your like that you will basically try to bring back to Bryn Shindar. It's purely up to you how much you all want to invest in it. And it also means that if dangerous shit happens in that journey coming home, you all have all of your money invested or you have less than all of it. So running away from that situation is a lot more dangerous, but that's kind of like how to look at it.
Okay, well, I have 54 gold, plus I also have 56 gold worth of tourmaline and a scrimshaw a goat worth 25 gold. So potentially what we could do is invest the tourmaline and the scrimshaw goat for a total of what's that, 80 gold. So then that way we're not dipping into any of our pockets and we're just using resources that we've gathered along the way. And hopefully that would get us, 3 barrels, although the negotiation would come down to that.
Yeah, and I'm sitting at 48 gold and the diamond, but I don't know if we want to give up the diamond. I mean, if we really wanted to go big or go home, we just throw the diamond at it because none of us are going to use it anytime soon.
True, but it could be useful for maybe, exchanging it for a magical item down the road. Whereas the tourmaline it's 7 pieces and they add up to a grand total of 56 gold. And it's not something that can be used for your spells or whatever. And the scrimshaw goat literally exists to be traded, and that's worth 25 gold. So scrimshaw goat, if we do really well, I think 25 gold from the sounds of things might get us 1 barrel of gold, 1 barrel of oil, and then the tourmaline at 56 gold, again, if we negotiate well, might get us 2 barrels of oil. So I think rather than using up our gold, we have these items that I believe are designed to be traded anyway. So we have up to 3 barrels of oil that we can barter for just from the party loot that I'm carrying on our behalf.
I've got 49 gold's worth of scrimshander and 60 gold worth of topaz.
Okay, then why don't we say the tourmaline, the scrimshaw goat, and your scrimshander? Those 3 things together should be able to get us potentially 5 barrels of oil, which is a big investment without without dipping into our gold supplies that we can use to just live our lives. So if something goes wrong, we lose all those things, but we're not investing more than we can survive with, if you know what I mean. Plus, we're in quite a good position where we can afford to take a bit of a gamble because we're at a weird, awkward level where we need to be looking for magical items and +1 items, etc. And those aren't things that we can buy or afford really technically with what we currently have. So I feel like if we take a gamble to increase our gold, it's not really too much we're missing out because it's not like we're going to go into a town where it's like, oh man, yeah, if you had 56 gold worth of tourmaline, I could have given you a +2 fucking battle axe or whatever. I think we'll be okay. But it's up to
How
the
are we
party.
supposed to get this oil back?
Helka's got that cart with the dogs on it. You all have the dog. You all have a bag of holding. Got a lot of ways to get oil back.
Yeah, I was fixing to say the dog alone can carry a couple 100 pounds worth of shit.
How much can go in the bag of holding?
500 pounds.
Oh,
Yeah, I think the bag of holding probably will max out at maybe 1 barrel, if even that much. Or if not, it might be 2 barrels. But that's one of those things where realistically, like a big ass barrel of oil probably weighs a pretty hefty amount. But the difference is Zaps is tiny and he can put a barrel into a bag of holding and it still weighs whatever, like 3 pounds or 5 pounds.
15 pounds is what the bag weighs, no matter what.
Okay, well, I think that I'm happy to say that because I know I'm carrying it, but it's party loot. The 56 gold's worth of tourmaline and the 25 gold of Scrimshaw goat, I think we could afford to invest at a minimum. And then it's up to us then, if we decide to then also invest the Scrimshaw that Jamie's carrying on our behalf. So I guess that's just what we need to agree on now.
I
right.
totally agree.
Yeah, your argument makes sense. That's what it's for. I mean, what are we going to do with it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, we can use it as a stand-in for gold for buying things, but I just think that at our current level and where we are, we can't afford to buy the things we need anyway, unless we suddenly came across like 1,000 gold and then one of us could afford something. You know what I mean? So I think we either have to go big or go home on reaching that, or we just carry on going about our business until we stumble across finding something magical.
Well, the other part is the stuff literally can't be bought here.
Yeah, very true.
In general, everything is just going to be much more rare. That was my point. Um, if you all had asked for that bag of holding instead of the diamond, though, he was prepared to give it to you.
Yeah, but I feel like, what the chances are that we can come across somebody who actually has one of these things. I know we touched about it before about the rarity of magic items for explorers and shit. But I think also if we come across somebody that's got a magic item that we want, usually more often than not you can find a way to get it without paying for it, i.e., have they got a task that needs carrying out, or is there something we can do, trade service for goods, etc., that sort of type of thing, as opposed to walking into it and it's like, oh, you come across a weird strange person living in a hut in the wilderness and it's a shop and it's like, oh, and then you go in and you just go, oh, here you go, here's 2,000 gold, here you go, and then you leave and then you just move on to the next quest. I feel like it's fun adventure to earn these things as well.
But it sounds like at this point, all of you pretty well agree you're not investing coin and you're not going to invest the diamond.
Yes, so I think, to speak for the party, I'm going to say the 56 gold of tourmaline I've got, the 25 gold of Scrimshaw goat, and then whatever it was that Jamie's got in Scrimshaw, I think will be the total of what we invest.
Okay, you're not doing the topaz?
We can do the topaz. I don't care one way or the other. That's 60.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. That's probably another 2 barrels.
But that's what you all need to decide on. And
Okay.
again, that's just as much a task for next week. It doesn't have to be discussed here. But that, again, is why I summarized it as it sounds like you don't want to invest the diamond, and it sounds like you don't want to invest your actual coin.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that for the topaz, what we could say is if we get a good deal on price, then we include the topaz. If we get a bad negotiation on price, we don't invest the topaz, if that sounds good.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell you as like an aside, that's not going to play the same way. You're going to negotiate for when you're selling stuff like that, your price is going to be based on what you are trying to buy it for. So when they look at the scrimshaw, they're going to judge all of your scrimshaw and give you, a number of barrels that they'll buy for you or they'll sell for the scrimshaw. your price of the topaz is going to have nothing to do with the price of the barrels. And if you're
Right.
not doing any coin, you guys are never going to get an actual like price value because you're not offering coin for barrels.
Oh, give them the topaz then as well.
Okay.
Because that's the thing. You guys are going to negotiate the value of what you have and the value of what they have. And they're going to try to get their best deal. You're going to try to get your best deal, sure. But like in the long run, what Helka is bringing you all to is a chance for you all to trade monetary value for goods. And if you guys don't want to invest coin, that's just one more thing that you're not selling there. But it doesn't, it's not like a single, I don't know, it's bartering.
Yeah, it makes sense. I understand it's item for item rather than established currency for item of an established value. Okay, well, that sounds good to me. So we'll go with that for next week then. So all of our valuable tradable items for oil, except for diamond and our actual gold.
Is there any reason for me to prepare the Dark Duchess? Do you all plan to go after the rum?
I'd like to, but I think I'd be keen to just get the oil back since we are investing quite a bit into it. I personally think it would be good to do the oil thing, bring it back, and then next time we can go to the Dark Duchess or whatever it's called. As a separate journey. Because I think we need to let a little bit of time pass with Lynn going to go to Caer Dineval anyway.
Yeah, let's do the oil. And I thought we were not meeting next week.
No, he said next session.
Yeah, my bad. I'm always thinking in sessions, not necessarily in weeks. Because what is it? We are day after Christmas? No, wait. This one's not necessarily a bad one, but I think I have. It looks like Josh can't meet next week.
No, I definitely can't meet next week, but I can the week after. So next week,
Gotcha.
I'm away this time next week. I'm going to a holiday home, so I
Yes.
won't. And then, but the week
Unless
after,
other people have to cancel for next week, I would rather if you can at least vaguely leave it open, because if I can still get somebody to join, I would rather have a session than try to tell them. Like I had somebody who wanted to join on Saturday. They had computer issues and then they couldn't join like that morning. So then they said, all right, well, I'll get in on the next one. And then we're canceled for the next 2 weeks because it's Christmas and then New Year's Day. And it's like, what are the chances they'll actually hang out for 3 weeks? If they do, they're probably a great player who will play for ages. But if they don't, that might be a player who would have played for ages, but we'll never know because 3 weeks without a game. That's why I'd say if we can get 3 people, I would think like we should play next week. Um, if we can't get to that, I think that's where we have to look at the cancel. And that was the same reason why I really wanted to try to keep Josh and Zaps interested today when I thought you were going to have your dentist appointment, is because I thought we were going to have a fourth, and that chance at having a fourth person is a huge part of like, look, if we can get 3, we need to, because that's how we actually can add people.
yeah, that's fine with me. If everybody else can play except me, then I'm completely okay with it. I understand that I'm not around next week, but I don't believe for a second that that means that we can't have a session just because I'm not around. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'm able to play next week if we can find a third.
Yeah, same here.
Excellent. So, everybody at this point, have a Merry Christmas. If you celebrate, whatever you're doing, please be safe and enjoy yourselves. Um, I feel like if Josh gets to go to a cabin, you said, that sounds absolutely delightful.
Yeah, it's like it's a holiday home, so it's like 2 lodges that have been bolted together to create like a bungalow that yeah, it's quite nice. It's out in Wales, out in the middle of nowhere, on like a holiday site where there's other similar structures, and it's like, yeah, it's quite a quaint little nice place of a little Welsh village about a 5-minute walk away around a big giant Welsh lake. So yeah, it's very nice, and it's going to snow, so it'll all be covered in snow the whole time as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So definitely have a fantastic time there. Travel safe. Is that far from like where you actually live, like heading off there? Or?
No, not at all. My family actually own it. It's about an hour and a half away in a car, so pretty close. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's good fun. We just got internet there. Not very good internet. It's basically dial-up speeds, but we just got that, so that's enough to, you know, send messages while you're there now, which is good because normally you're cut off from the world whilst you're there. So yeah, really looking forward to it, and I'll be with my family as well. So I haven't seen them in a few months, so that'll be really good. Thank you.
Growing up, my family had a little like plot of land in like middle of nowhere in West Virginia for the actual Americans here. Um, and I signed up for Starlink to give me a notification when they would start to like serve that, because that's absolutely the only way that little plot of land will ever have internet access. Because of like, I will move on to that place and build myself like this tiniest little hobbit hole that you will ever see the moment I can get internet there, because my entire life right now is remote work over the internet.
Oh yeah, I looked at Starlink for it, and it was like, oh yeah, pay us like £500 right now, and we'll let you know when you can get it. Currently, there's no plans, but it'll happen at some point. It's like, yeah, I'm not giving you
What?
£500, so that yeah, it doesn't even say. It doesn't even say if it'll be this coming year or the year after or what. It just says at some point, at which point you have to pay us,
They're
and it's a lot of
taxing
money.
that ass purely because you're in the UK then.
Yeah,
Mine was just like sign up for it, give them the location, and they'll let me know. That was all it was.
really. Yeah, you definitely have to make a down payment of a lot of money to basically reserve your satellite dish here. Yeah.
So, is anyone limiting contact over the holidays? I mean, I was fine with everything, and then I don't know. Today, Omicron makes me a little bit nervous.